Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me this morning, this wonderful morning, on what is to be certainly one of the best days of the year. It is now Friday the 13th, so happy Friday the 13th, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic day, a fantastic Friday the 13th. I hope everyone is uh, starting off on a good foot, and I hope everyone rolled off on the right side of the bed this morning. You might need it. Who knows? Who knows? But it's going to be fantastic. I hope everyone is going to be watching at least one movie from Jason Voorhees' Friday the 13th series. I mean, it's at least appropriate. I think it might even help you alleviate some of the inevitable bad luck. Unfortunately, and now today is buckled with hysteria and now added in with an extra dose of superstitious bad luck because today is one of the most wonderful days of the year. It's very rare. I think it might only come maybe once or twice a year, and Friday the 13th. So that's just fantastic. What a wonderful day to wake up to. What a wonderful time to be alive, experiencing in another Friday the 13th. Today, we can just sit back again, once again, to sit back, relax, and let's enjoy some more incredible and always entertaining morning nonsense. And we're back, everyone. We're back. It's time for some interesting stuff. It's time for some. If you were here last time, if you were here for the last episode, I think it was yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. We went over Kotaku and how incapable and completely inept their journalists are at their jobs, which their jobs are just playing video games and then writing about them. And they can't really write about them, can they? They can't play them. They can certainly write about them by writing about them. I mean, they can certainly type words that somehow correlates to video games. They can't really write about them though, and they definitely can't play them. So let's see here. I have something interesting. I think I mentioned this last time. It's not the Final Fantasy VII playthrough. It's not the Final Fantasy VII playthrough. Let's see here, but it is the famous one. Managed to find the famous one. I managed to find not only the famous playthrough of Cuphead. I managed to find someone who was generous enough to put together something very interesting. Because I think I mentioned last time that not only did a video games journalist play through this game and was completely inept at it, but they had a 5-year-old follow up who was absolutely brilliant at it. And then someone came along and got both of the footage from both of those attempts from the 5-year-old, and then the footage from the games journalist, a fully grown games journalist whose job it is to write about and play video games and to report to you about video games and how they act, how well they play, on all the mechanics, all the good stuff. Their entire job. They get paid very well to do versus a 5-year-old. So someone managed to put it up, managed to put together for us, and it's on the channel Stick Figure X Stick Figure X, and they were kind enough. They're kind enough to put together for us. Let's see here. It's in 2 parts. I think we'll just watch 1 part for now. I think we'll get the gist of it from 1 part. So let's check it out. Let's check it out, Chad. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and mute this. I don't think we need to hear it. In this case, YouTube snipes us down from the heavens. I'll go ahead and mute it. I don't think we really need to hear it. You're not saying anything essential. But the words here says, which side, guess which side is played by the 5-year-old. Well, it's being a little laggy here. Hold on. All right, let's check it out, chat. Let's check it out. And the right one is going. The right one is going. And now the left one's going. Let's see. So which one is the 5-year-old? Which one's the 5-year-old, chat? Let's see. Let's see which one makes it. Let's see which one makes it. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so we got the left one. Left one is going. They're figuring it out. 1 attempt. The second attempt on the left one. The left one did a second attempt and is already passing the on the right. Let's see here. And so which one is the 5-year-old, chat? And which one is I think we all know, okay? The video games journalist is on the right, and the 5-year-old is obviously on the left. Okay, the video games journalist is spending like 30 minutes trying to get past this first section on the tutorial. Let's see. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. They got the video game journalist gets there first and just spends the next hour trying to learn how to jump. This fully grown, presumably fully developed person with a fully developed brain. There we go. Finally, chat. Finally, they are able to catch up with a 5-year-old. No. No, John Bishop. The person on the right isn't memeing. That's actually how video game journalists play video games by being utterly terrible and inept at them. That's awesome. I like that. So close, yes, Zofraz. They're so close, but yet still so far away. Okay, I think it's enough for that little. You can see their humiliation. You can see the humiliation as they are, as a video game journalist, is soundly outpaced by a 5-year-old. Oh, we got super chat. Drasios 5. V, thanks for the 5. There is hope for this generation after all. Godspeed, son. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's kind of a low bar if you're trying to outpace a video games journalist, but that's still a bar to be achieved. It's still a bar to be achieved, especially if they're only 5 years old. They still have a long way to go. So much more left in their life. So much more left in their life. But they were beating a. They're just why can't they just hire the 5-year-old? Just fire your entire staff, hire the 5-year-old to play your video games, and then have the video games journalist write about them. Or maybe even have the 5-year-old write about them. I'm pretty sure the 5-year-old would have a much more entertaining and much more insightful take on the video games they just played. They can certainly play them better. Let's see here. Finer print. Found you through Mahler and Wolf. Love your breakdowns of Star Wars and the like. Very comprehensive. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun on EFAP. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. If they invite me back, I'll definitely go back on. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff, Chan. Anyway, I found some more interesting nonsense on Twitter of all places. You would never expect Twitter to have nonsense, now would you? It's a site known for that or anything. Okay, let's see here. Check this out. Check this out. Let's see what we have. Okay, here we go. This is by Orwell and Good. These are the people calling you Nazi on the internet. So let's check it out. Let's see what they're saying, chat. So this is taken from a Discord chat. It looks like taken from Discord. Let's see here. One person says, "Do not speak Germans here. As long as you only speak English, you're all right." It's not an attack. It's a logical statement based on a single accusation. Why the hell did you censor the word German? Because of gendered language. I suggest you censor it too. Yes, because Ger woman is a word, or Ger person. Stop now. Stop now. You're being totally offensive. You are literally saying that German, a word referring to a language, is a gendered word. And then someone else, a white knight, comes in and says, "Stop using gendered language. It is. Is it really so difficult to use Germix and make people feel more secure and safe because you are using an X instead of an A because it's the word man? You censoring out the word man in German is making people more secure and safe. Okay, maybe people deserve a little shock to the system if you're being triggered by the word German. Okay. Arias SGD5, thank you for the 5. Pity that your morning nonsense is around 8:30 p.m. on my time zone. I am so tired after a long day and can't stay awake for your streams. I know time zones exist, and I'm hoping I wanted to put out the show that was at least reasonable for some people around where in my time zone area, in my side of the world. But obviously, the show's for everyone. But it's morning around where I am, so I like the idea of a morning show. Mainly because I've heard some morning shows before, and I really enjoyed them. I really appreciated them when I was awake at the time to enjoy them, and I think it's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. Let's see, but thank you very much. Appreciate it. And hopefully, I know you're tired at the end of the day, but that's what it's for, to be entertained. So as long as you get some entertainment from it, that's fine. That's incredible. I like that. That's what I want. That's what I'd like to hear. Let's see here. Rakan Sano, thanks to the 4.99. Watch as the child is trying to learn while adult fails about manically unable, manically unable to accept that they are instant experts and know everything. Yeah, it seems to be a strange round of arrogance coming from particularly these video game journalists. And it's a round of arrogance that just seeps into these certain types of people. It's people who tend to vehemently argue that The Last Jedi is a masterpiece and while calling you Nazi, people who are writing for video games journalists, writing for video games journalism sites, things like that, things of that nature. By the way, these are the same people here on with being triggered by the word German. I'd say Latinx is a word. Latinx is not a word. They are really triggered by gendered language, it seems. Hack for Life thinks so too. I have Gerwoman ancestry. Yeah, you can't. Are you? It's like so. The thing is, are you just disregarding a whole sect of people by just pretending Gerwomen do not exist? Gerwoman does not exist. Are you just doing that? Oh, let's see here. Let's see here. A Chris Hassian, Jur person. I like to see that a Jur person. I'll get some Jur person in here. I like to talk to a Jur person. I want to talk to a Jur woman because I mean we always hear from these dirty Jur man. These dirty Jur men. Lady Gravemaster. It's a new hand sanitizer, all the rage. Lady Gravemaster, we have a. I know you wrote an article recently, one that was actually recommended by Doomcock. So we'll be going over that today on this morning stream, and we'll be going over it fairly soon. Fairly soon. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see what else we have here. What else do we have? Uh, Hex Harper he'll be a gamer with so many hit pieces written about him someday. Oh, I think so, because he's good at it. You can't be good as a gamer and be liked by the gaming journalist community. They'll be really jealous. Rock and Xenolix for Dog99 say people who argue all words are made up. And these are exactly the same people who think like all words are made up. All the stuff that are actually actual facts are just social constructs, and then argue that their previously named social constructs are actual facts. Again, it is facts and social constructs are kind of the same things. It just depends on the day of the week and what kind of argument they're trying to do and how they're trying to beat you through argumentation. And see Barry Bend. At the age of 5, I was playing Halo Combat Evolved and Soul Calibur 2. Those take reaction and pattern recognition to play. Yeah. Apparently, these are things that video games journalists they don't really develop. They don't really develop higher cognitive functions. It seems. Genghis Khan thinks with 5. People who use Germans deserve a visit from a certain virus running around. Their lives are too comfortable. Also, it's 5:45 where I am. So it's still the morning. So I'm not wrong where you are. I'm not. We're still inside the morning time zone, the morning time zone bracket where you are. Fantastic. Yeah, these are the people that are crazy. They have absolutely nothing to complain about, so they have to complain about something. So they're complaining about the word German and saying how it's not only are you not supposed to use the word German because it has the word man in it. You're supposed to use the word Germix, which is not a word. It's like Latinx is not a word. And then you're supposed to use that word not because of any factual stance, but you're supposed to not use the word German and just use English because using the word German makes people feel insecure and unsafe. Oh, you didn't say it was yours. Oh, okay, okay. But you did. But you did point me to the direction of the article, and it was recommended by Doomcock. But we'll check it out anyway. We're going to check it out anyway. We will check it out anyway. Don't worry. It looks interesting. It looks interesting. I like it. Let's see here. Oh yeah, these are the people who have absolutely nothing to complain about. These are, by the way, these are the people calling you Nazi on the internet. They do, and strangely enough, did you know that? Remember how all the right wingers, all these far right people were demonized, and one of the talking points is you remember how everyone kept finding American for Americans and everything, and go back to your country and all that stuff. One of the other talking points they also give is that you should learn English, Okay, it's mandatory that you should learn English, and these far leftist NPC people have gone so crazy that they consider themselves tolerant and demand that you learn and speak English. This is this isn't just can't make this up anymore. I mean, first they brought back segregation, and then they want these far leftist NPCs brought back segregation, just the opposite turnaround now. And then they brought back the white man's burden, and now they're bringing back go back to your country, speak English. And then the best part is they don't even know they're doing it. They think they're tolerant and good people, but they are becoming, or they long since become, the very thing they cry about every single minute of the day. I thought that was interesting to see because that really point because they even say as long as you only speak English, you're all right. Oh, that's fantastic. Should I go back to my country too? Oh, that's wonderful. Raglan Sale, Dix for $1.99. It seems like Dunning Kruger is the true virus. Oh, I think so. I think so. That seems to be the case. That seems to be the case. Let's see here. Let's see here. Alea Gravemaster, thanks for the two. Human is also discouraged. I bet it is. What is it? What is it supposed to be now? Humixon? You can't say human anymore. That's going to make people commit suicide or whatever. People are going to die if you use the word human. You have to use the word humixon. It's like the word. That's the word German is going to cause people to die, to commit suicide, all that stuff. You can't use the word German. You have to use the word Germixon, or you're going to have literal blood on your hands. Okay, get with the times. We have more chat. We have more. There's always more. There's always more. Let's see here. Space Oyster. I'm surprised they recommended English. Japanese has had gender neutral pronouns, and that's strange too because uh, because they a lot of these people have shown that they are really obsessed with manga and anime. That's not a bad thing, but it's really shows when they try to pump out creative works and they try to implement anime tropes and manga tropes into their creative works, and they don't know how they actually function. They don't actually trying to put it's like trying to put gears in your car because you know gears go in your car, but you don't know how they actually function. So you just dump them in there and hope they work. And it's very, very obvious, very, very clear. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see here. Okay, okay. So we have more chat. Don't worry, we have more. We have plenty more. Let's see. What else do we have? What should we have next, chat? Okay, here we go. Make sure I got this. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This is from a comics professional. Because the thing is, people were complaining again that comics professionals were not, or comic book creators on the creative end of the comic book production, like the artists and the writers and things. Uh, they were not being because they're on Twitter, and these are the same people who call you Nazi and had used blockchains to prevent you from looking at their stuff. Which, by the way, if you didn't catch it last time, I've had a new rule that if you block me on Twitter, I'm not buying anything from you. Okay, if you block me on Twitter, then I cut you off from my wallet. And any company that sells your stuff, I'm not buying your stuff from that company. It's not going to work. And I'm not watching your shows. I'm not buying your products. And that's just the end of that. But there's been a large influx, it seems, for what I've heard, that the comic book professionals are out there using blockchains again, calling you Nazi again, and everyone is having a another backlash saying that your customer service is terrible, that your professionals are acting unprofessional, and this one of these very adamant anti-comics gators, very adamant SJWs, Ron Mars, says there's a deep misunderstanding here of who the client is here. My business card says writer, not customer service. Well, here's the thing: you're a writer who's trying to sell stories, right? You're a writer who's trying to sell stories to make money, and it is my opinion You might disagree with me on this, but it is of my opinion that if you are in the business of selling something, you are in customer service. Okay, you are in customer service. You're at least part of your job, some portion of your job is customer service. And this goes even for comic book writers, it goes for comic book artists. Okay. Tyler Preston, exactly. Dan Slott, I forgot about him. Cough, cough. Dan Slott. Yeah, Dan Slott came out and he blocked everyone this way he can freely call everyone Nazi, call all the people who like to support the president uh, fascists and bigots. The usual rigmarole, the usual thing they've been spouting out for 4 years because they have been going on a 4-year temper tantrum. It is ridiculous. And can you just stop with the political stuff every once in a while? I mean, you can talk about politics, but when it goes to if you're a professional in the comic book industry, people want to go to you for comics. Talk about comics every once in a while, and talk about comics without having to mention Trump. Also, it's kind of like this coronavirus stuff. I can't go anywhere. I can't look up news on Twitter for coronavirus. I have to go elsewhere, which is I know it's saying something, but every time the coronavirus pops up on Twitter, every time coronavirus trends on Twitter, as if if they're pushing news or something or new developments, it's not full of new developments. The first thing you see is it's just overloaded with Trump bashing. Like, can you just hold off on the Trump bashing a little bit? It's a little bit. Can you just control yourself? Control your rampant id for 5 minutes so I can learn a little bit of something about the coronavirus. Okay. By the way, these are the people who want to get the coronavirus so they can go to Trump rallies and infect their fellow Americans with a disease. And they said this. I think I showed it on a previous stream. These people are lunatics. They want you, if you disagree with their politics, they literally want you dead. They literally want you to die. And that's not even covering the guy who worked in a retirement home and purposely killed Trump supporters, old Trump supporters in the retirement home. He would switch out the medication. He would stop himself from doing things that would save their lives because he knew they voted Trump. These people are ridiculous and scary. They want to kill the fellow Americans because the fellow American disagrees with their politics. That alone, for that reason alone. American Tailor for $1.99. They can imitate, but cannot innovate. It's sad. Exactly. Exactly. And that seems to be the case with all the woke nonsense going around. They can imitate Star Wars, they can imitate good Star Wars, but they can't really innovate. They can add in different crybaby stuff. They can add in messages about how capitalism is evil. Now, here's now I'm going to charge you money so you can see the movie. Where I can tell you that capitalism is evil. They can imitate good Star Wars. Disney can imitate good Star Wars, but they can't really innovate into something new. They can imitate good Doctor Who, I guess, but they can't really innovate. They can they can't sell you new Star Wars without old Star Wars. They can't do it, and they can't make their just like in the comic book industry. They want to make their own woke versions of characters. They want to make their own line of woke characters, but they can't really make their new characters. They have to replace old characters. Like they got rid of Tony Stark and replaced it with a new woke version, new woke character, but they didn't make her own character. At least not at the beginning. They snuck her in to the Iron Man line, and then after she had some comic books under her belt, they moved her to Ironheart. But she's even under Ironheart, Riri Williams. It was still just a copy paste Iron Man. She was just Iron Man. She was another Iron Man. And so they can't really create something new. That's why they have to infect old characters, and they can't create new characters. It's unfortunate, but it's the only way they can rise to the top quickly because they don't want to do the work. That's also another thing. They don't want to do the work. They're very lazy. These woke writers, these woke artists, they're very lazy. They just want to rise right to the top. Like Heather Rantos from yesterday, she wanted to be an editor who never edited a thing in her life. She wanted to start off at the top of one of the biggest industries biggest companies in the comic book industry. But fortunately, they want woke points, so they'll hire anyone. They'll hire anyone where they allow them to get woke points. Maybe he wanted an office girlfriend, who knows? And so she went off, did one editing job, and then came right back. It seems one crowdfunded editor job, and she got the job as editor. Now she's senior editor at Valiant Comics. The backpacking angler. Thanks for the two. Try Parasite the anime. Uh, Parasite the anime? What is that about? I know Parasite the movie. I know it did very, very well. I've never heard of the anime. Tomberry Queen, the comic book pros. Always a steady supply of stupid coming from them on an hourly basis. Yeah, I think that's more their job than actually creating comics these days, is complaining about bigots and the people they see as bigots on Twitter. Although, while being bigots on Twitter, because if you hate someone purely for their political bias, that's bigotry. It's the definition of bigotry. RESHUD, thanks for the 5. America, we preach freedom of speech. Me, laughs when seeing all the NPCs slash SOWs canceling all the actual good stuff. Exactly. Exactly. That's why we have to fight. Freedom isn't free. Have you ever seen America World Police? Freedom isn't free. Okay, you gotta protect your freedoms from tyrants like SOWs and NPCs because they're always ready to use morality to just steal all your freedoms away from you. But going back to Ron Mars, I mean, come on. You are a writer. Okay, even writers, people who are writing novels and they're basically their own company. Like I mean, they have publishers, but they go out and do and talk give talks and give lectures and things. Even these writers from Neil Gaiman to Lee Child to Patrick Rothfuss, all of these authors, they come out and they give lectures, they give talks, they give speeches, and they definitely communicate with the people who read their stuff. And they're not it's not like these authors are writing for characters that someone else had already written. Like they're not writing for Batman. They're writing things that they themselves had created. They're talking about characters and stories that they themselves had written and created. Neil Gaiman likes to talk about Sandman. Yeah, he's done things. He's written for characters like Batman, but he mostly talks about things that himself has written, like Sandman, like the Graveyard Book, um, the Ocean at the End of the Lane, Good Omens. He loves to talk about the stuff he's written that he himself has created, and and you can bet that all of these writers who come out and talk to the audiences that love them, they are definitely in the business of customer service. That is customer service. Talking to your audience, listening to their questions, listening to their concerns, and helping them out if they ask for help. Just conversing with your audience and not insulting them because they voted for Trump or something, not calling them Nazi because they don't trust a big, gigantic government controlling their lives. Okay? Which is really ironic that they call Republicans Nazis. And the major tenets of republicanism is that they don't trust the government. They want a small government. That's right wing economic politics, small government, and more power to the individual. And then they call you Nazi because you don't like the idea of an overbearing government. But the thing is, that's how it is. Okay, that's what's going on here. Just because you're a writer, just because your job says writer on your business card, does not mean you are totally free of the obligation of customer service. If you are in the business of selling something, as Ron Mars admits here that he is in the business of selling his written products, his written stories for money, for a living, you are in the business of customer service. Okay, you have people who are dedicated to customer service, who their entire job revolves around uh, handling customers and their questions and their concerns. But if a customer comes to you as a writer, you don't get to just say, "Okay, I'm going to talk to you, but who did you vote for in the last election?" No, no, it doesn't matter who he or she voted for in the last election. The only thing that matters is they are a customer and they have concerns or questions or some other inquiry into the writing, maybe, or the business. And if you can't answer something, you can't answer something. But you are in customer service. If you're selling something, it's to my belief you are in some way in the business of customer service. Okay, you do not get to just insult the customer because you're not labeled customer service and you are quote unquote just a writer. We're going to say thanks for the 499. Frauds constantly projecting everyone as frauds. It's a sad paranoid mindset. It's how they see Trump. It's how they see everyone who opposes them. Exactly. Exactly. This is also feeds into the how what I said the other day, and that they're in their mindset, failure is good, and it's in their minds, it's not failure. Failure is actually a success. It's a victory, because they what they see is that all of these industries, all of these little companies and things, all of these age-old companies like DC and Marvel, and franchises like Star Wars and Doctor Who and James Bond, that they had been garnering audiences. Sure, they have been very successful. Sure, but their audiences are all bigots and Nazis and things. And then so they come in and they start making woke stuff. They start making woke stuff. Okay. And then they see a 50% drop, 70% drop in viewership, and 70% drop in customers. Okay, customers are no longer buying their products, and they see that as a victory, because in their minds, they're not turning customers away. Everyone who does not like their woke stories and their woke political messaging, their woke political preaching in their products, anyone who does not like that, according to them, the Nazi or a bigot. And so, in their eyes, if you stop buying their products, then in their eyes, it's a victory, because they have, even though they 30%, they have a drop, but 30% or so, maybe even 50%, like we saw with Valiant Comics yesterday, a 50% drop in customer attention. Then in their minds, they just turned away. They just purged the customer base of bigots and Nazis. This is why when you go to these professionals like Ron Mars, and you express some beliefs, some certain beliefs they deem to be alt right or something, like liking good stories or preferring good characters, which is totally Nazi thing to do apparently. And that they want them to put stories and characters before their own agendas. They will say, "Do not buy my comics," because to them you have outed yourself as some flavor of bigot, and their idea of a good business is a business that produces products that bigots will not want to buy. So they don't want bigots buying their products. That's which is why 50% drop. Well, that's just we just purged a customer base of bigots and Nazis. You like characterization and storytelling? Well, that's a Nazi thing to say. Do not buy my comic book. That's why they have that mindset. And this all stems from this absolute arrogance, this absolute high pedestal these comic book professionals placed on themselves. I'm a writer, not a customer service agent. Yeah, you're both, okay? Your main job might be writer, but you're still in customer service because you're selling your writing. It just comes with the job, okay? It comes with the job. Reckon St. Ludwig for $1.99. In modern culture, failure is death, and so they deny it. Yeah. In a capitalist society, failure is pretty much death. If you're not selling, if not people aren't buying your stuff, and you're a professional in the industry, if you're a professional comic book writer and people aren't buying your comic book writing, you're a failure and you're probably going to get fired. People aren't going to find use for you anymore in the industry in which you have prided yourself in working in. Okay, so they try to deny it. They try to close their eyes and cover their ears and try to say it's not happening, but it is. That's why they cover it themselves with, "Oh, our sales are in the toilet." But it's a good thing because all the people who went away, we just turned away all the bigots and Nazis. So at least we'll be on the street soon, but at least we have the manufactured moral high ground to make our little cardboard hut on. That's a love of Ron Mars. Let's get to some stuff I didn't actually go over, but might seem to be interesting because there's more stuff on the horizon. If you didn't know, uh, Star Wars, all the Star Wars Twitter accounts and all the Star Wars videos and all the stuff, everything around modern Disney Star Wars, they have been an overload, an overload of damage control ever since the the Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker landed, and it hasn't stopped yet. It has not stopped. Let's see here. Uh, Literature. What is a good way to learn to write? A good way to learn to write is one of the best things, basic advice, and I know that works. That had a lot of authors uh, suggest is to read a lot of works, especially works that you are interested in the genre you're interested in. So if you're interested most in writing thrillers, then read a lot of thrillers. If you're interested in sci-fi, then read a lot of sci-fi. Because one thing you have to do, you have to know, and I always say this, is that when you're writing a creative work and you want people to purchase it and look into it, is to uh, is to know what audience you're going to be targeting. What's your target audience for your creative work? And if you're going, for example, so if you like sci-fi and you're going to do sci-fi works, then you have to identify. You have to know that your main target audience is sci-fi. It's going to be a sci-fi loving audience. So while I recommend reading a variety of different things, including classical literature, things like that, because they all have different methods and tools that you can utilize and use to new degrees in your new and your own story. Okay, and then I would suggest reading a lot of sci-fi, so you can know the tropes. People like tropes. You know how things go. You know the traditions. You know what people are most interested in. And but yeah, the main piece of advice that really works, that's really effective, is learning or not learning, but reading and then listening to other authors speak. Listen to them go to the thought process behind their works and why things are how they came out to be, what their problems and tribulations were. But number one, a piece of advice I can give you to learn to way to learn to write is by reading, and then the second piece of advice is write, because as Neil Gaiman says this, I think in his masterclass, in fact, and I think he says this in his talks too, is that you write, you begin writing by imitating your favorite authors. So when you begin to write and you write your first story, you're probably going to be imitating the authors that you like, maybe Tolkien or maybe a more contemporary writer that you like, and you're going to be pretty much mimicking their style. And then after a while, okay, after you produce a few works, you'll gradually find your own voice. And once you find your own voice, you're pretty much ready to go into your profession, to start selling it, because then you'll become unique. Then you're actually you instead of someone trying to muddle through the first steps. There's nothing wrong with muddling through your first steps. Everybody does. Everybody does. Okay. But yeah, you were going to start off. It's like a lot of writers tend to write in first person because it's more intimate. It's more something they can handle. A lot of writers begin the first characters being Mary Sue's. It's all fine, and a lot of people begin writing their creative writing career by imitating others, by imitating writers they like. But practice makes perfect, and continuing writing your own creative works, you'll eventually find your voice. Neil Gaiman confirmed that. So I hope that helps. Hope that helps. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see. And 1 second here. Do I have a Discord? Let me see. Kate Lust, do I have a Discord? Not yet. I've been looking into it, but not as of yet. Mainly because I'm weighing the options here because I've heard so many horror stories about people with Discords and how toxic they become, how dangerous they can be, how dangerous it can be. So many horrible things I've heard about people with YouTubers with Discord servers. So I'm still weighing the options, but it's being considered though. It's being considered. Anyway, let's see. They Street Rant has pumped out a article informing us that they have revealed another damage control article. And Star Wars has revealed another damage control factoid that will plug up a plot hole all the way back from the Last Jedi, and how Luke Skywalker found his lightsaber again. So let's check it out. Star Wars reveals the secret of Luke's lightsaber plot hole. By the way, the only reason why they had to put out so many articles and tweets is, of course, because the movies are terrible. If the movies were well written and well constructed, they wouldn't have to do this much damage control. But it's very entertaining to me to watch their flailing around. I just enjoy their flailing around. It's very fun. It's a lot of fun. I find a lot of amusement in how desperate they are in trying to plug up the sinking ship that is Disney Star Wars. I love it. It's fantastic. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin, shall we? Star Wars reveals a Luke Skywalker, the secret of Luke's lightsaber plot hole. Star Wars is finally explaining how Anakin's lightsaber was recovered by Luke on Cloud City, but the answer is an even bigger mystery. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Trey Davis, have you played Hollow Knight? No, I haven't, but I heard it was really good. I heard it was really good. I actually heard about Hollow Knight from Game Theory. Yes, I really, really like Game Theory. I really like film theory. I like Mad Pat. Okay. Controversial opinion of the day. I really like Mad Pat. I like both of his channels. I find him very entertaining. Very entertaining. Mad Pat specifically. Now the other guy with the opera music, not really for me. I realize why people like him because he goes into more math and mechanics. So I realize why people like him, but that one's not for me. That was not for me. I did, however, like his video on the music theory concerning the that one boss from Dark Souls 3. That was interesting. I like that one. But usually it's the Matt Pat stuff, not so much the other guy. I think it's Austin. Yeah, his name is Austin. Not so much Austin for me in particular. I'm not saying he's bad. I mean, he does an excellent job. I'm just not interested in the Austin products. I'm more interested in the Matt Pat products. Anyway, let's see here. Let's see here. Zayukio, I find Matt Pat entertaining, but his facts are shit sometimes. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I found a video or two that um, I really thought about, and if I know about something he's talking about, if I played a video game he's talking about, I can kind of pick apart sometimes his arguments. But overall, I find them very interesting. I find them very interesting. Trey Davis, I used to like his theories, but I used to, but his theories are absurd. Yeah, I can see that. That's perfectly reasonable. I get that too. Uh, I can see why you would think that. It's probably true. It's probably true. Arias SUD, thanks for the 10. Basically, it is the same. It is the same being an artist. I started out drawing by copying and finding out my own style in it. I read about a quote. A good artist copies. I read about a quote. A good artist copies while great artist steals and adopts. Exactly, exactly. Because writing, just like drawing or painting, it's an art. Okay, they're all art, and even though it's kind of abstract, it's kind of nebulous. It's not as easy to see a path from good to from mediocre or newbie or novice to expert as it is for most other things like sports or something. But it is an art, and it's like painting and drawing and writing. All three of those, you probably are going to start out copying someone else, and that's no problem because you are copying what the style and you are copying things from someone else that you agree with, that you really find you yourself find entertaining, and from those they kind of guide you. Those elements from other people's work guide you to your own voice. Then you can create your own stuff. Uh, a great artist steals and adopts. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things have come out like they say. Okay, everything has come out before. Everything has been done. So there's been plenty of instances where this has happened. For example, if you're a Warcraft fan, I'm not really sure how many are out there anymore, but as a Warcraft fan, that was actually going to be a Warhammer series, but they said no. Okay, they said no, and so they instead of Warcraft, instead of Warhammer, they produced their own IP called Warcraft. Same thing with George Lucas and Willow has produced a production of Willow. He wanted to produce Lord of the Rings. They said no, and so he made his own Lord of the Rings, called it Willow. And there's been so many instances, and there's nothing wrong with taking something old and then making it your own. In fact, Neil Gaiman even did this with his mythology book. He took old Norse myths and he retold them, but in Neil Gaiman esque style. So, yeah, and you can see and they're very very much Neil Gaiman. It's because they're the same Norse myths, but the way they're written is very Neil Gaiman. It's how. In fact, you know what? I would recommend reading these Norse myths by. I'm not. You know. I'm not. I would recommend. You don't have to, of course, but if you're interested, okay, I would recommend reading up on the Norse mythology, and then reading the same Norse mythological stories that Neil Gaiman wrote about, and compare them, and how you can see the difference in the voices. You can see the difference in the voices, the writing voices, and you can see, and greatness pours out. Also, on that note, one other piece of advice I always give when learning how to write is you write fan fiction. I know that has a bad rap. I know it has a really interesting stigma. Fan fiction does, but if you're a writer just starting out, write some fan fiction. It's kind of fan fiction, kind of like the training wheels for writers. I mean, it's just, yeah, fan fiction is out there, and a lot of a lot of people use it just to live out their fantasies and their sexual fantasies and their crazy degenerate lusts. But it's also there. It can also has there's also a good side. Okay, the dark side of fan fiction and the light side of fan fiction. The light side of fan fiction, that you can use the world that they've already developed, the characters they've already developed, and run your own stories, your own characters through them. It's training wheels for writers. I highly suggest making your own fan fiction if you're looking to practice. Then you can get a grasp for things, all the necessities, and all the necessary mechanics. Have you ever read a fan fiction about you? I don't think there are any. There's no one has made me aware of any. I really hope not, actually. I really hope there are none. Anyway, Star Wars reveals the secret of Luke's lightsaber plot hole. Star Wars is finally explaining how Anakin's lightsaber was recovered by Luke on Cloud City, but the answer is an even bigger mystery. The Star Wars movies have brought an end to the Skywalker saga, returning Anakin and Luke Skywalker's famous blue lightsaber to Tatooine. But the biggest plot hole surrounding the weapon is only now being explained. They didn't do this in the movie, okay? Remember, they didn't do this in the movie, so it doesn't really count. All their explanations don't really count because it wasn't in the movie. Because if I watch a movie of yours, I shouldn't have to do extra homework to find out what's going on. And see here. And in the process, adding a mysterious new chapter to Luke's Jedi journey. When Marvel announced that their line of Star Wars comics would be coming to an end, having finally reached the events of the film The Empire Strikes Back, previously filled in the gap between it and A New Hope. The next relaunch was also confirmed, following immediately after Darth Vader sliced off Luke's hand and their epic Cloud City duel made sense. But when the early plot details revealed Luke, Leia, and Lando returned to Cloud City, many movie fans suspected that the comic book would finally explain the plot hole of Luke's lost lightsaber. On that note, has anyone ever seen Doctor Who and how the 10th Doctor lost his hand, and then that hand became another Doctor in some convoluted other plot, which was really, really silly? Wouldn't that be interesting if that's where Rey came from? Someone got Luke's severed hand and made her and grew Rey out of that hand, so that's why she has all these innate powers. Now that would be interesting. Also, it would kind of fix a lot of the plot holes. She wouldn't really. Then you can explain away why she suddenly is able to do all of these things that normal people, normal Jedi, need to train for. But that would have been a good way. That would have been at least acceptable to me. Almost, almost. It would still be silly, and you couldn't really do a hero's journey the way they want to do a hero's journey. You have to kind of alter it a bit, but it would explain at least a little bit. At least it would give us something more reasonable than she's just awesome, or that she's just Palpatine's granddaughter, sort of. A hack for life. Thanks for the 5. If you take from one person, that's stealing. If you take from everyone, that's research. Tony Bennett. Is that Tony Bennett, the singer? I like that guy. That's true. It's kind of strange. Like that. Remember that one quote? That one quote. I think it was a biologist or something. I forgot. I remember a historian. He said, "If you kill one man, you're a murderer. If you kill if you kill 1,000 or 100,000, then you are a conqueror. But if you kill all of them, you're a god. It's kind of like that. I mean, you have to do more. You have to take from more than one person. I think I put actually touched on that specific phenomenon you're talking about on one of my Commonscape videos. I think it was the very last one, and it was covering Richard Myers or your boy Zach's uh, Jawbreaker's Lost Souls, and how I defended it against everyone calling it like a ripoff of King Kong and Expendables. The thing is that yeah, you can see the influences in there, but he took a little bit from everywhere and made his and from all those things, the little pieces he took from a bunch of the places he franchises he was inspired from. He took few pieces from each one and made something entirely new. And you can completely and totally do that. It's his own thing. He made it his own thing, as opposed to the Force Awakens, which just basically just copy and pasted the entire plot, just drag and drop the entire plot of A New Hope into the new product, so that they don't have to do that much work and they can just focus on how awesome Rey is. But yeah, yeah, don't steal from one person. Uh, study all of them. Study a lot of them, and then take bits and pieces that you like, and then find out why those pieces work, and find out why those pieces are so appealing to you and so appealing to a lot of people. Let's see here. Zofrats, are you conspiring in there? Are you trying to get someone to make a fan fiction and then have me read it on stream? Because if someone does, I will have to be obligated. I'll be obligated to read it on stream. So don't do that. I reckon say though. Thanks for $1.99. Literature Devil, Rags, Doomcock, Lemonfic. Oh no. I should never mention fan fiction ever ever again. Reckon Sailor, thanks for $1.99. The holes of plot in erotic literature devil tale. Oh, that was a mistake. Let's see here. Let's see here. Following immediately after Darth Vader sliced off Luke's hand in their epic Cloud City duel made sense, but when the early plot details revealed Luke, Leia, and Lando returned to Cloud City, many movie fans suspected that the comic books would finally explain the plot hole of Luke's lost lightsaber. You know, the one that fell that with Luke's severed hand before turning up in Maz's Maz, is that her last name? I thought it was gonna be Cantina. Kanata's bar, Maz Kanata's bar in The Force Awakens to be passed on to Rey. And how come if they're so woke, they call it a bar, not a canteen anymore? Why is the cantina too ethnic for you? The Force Awakens to be passed on to Rey, but in the new preview, the explanation is turning out to be far more exciting and far more mysterious than anyone would have guessed. While Star Wars #1 was spent simply recovering from the epic defeats, the Star Wars #2 gave Luke the time to realize that he would need to return to Cloud City and recover his father's lightsaber in order to complete his Jedi training for some reason. That's weird. Why would you need to recover that for his training? Let's see. Hope they give a good answer. But it was then that a strange force vision clouded his mind, revealing Luke's lightsaber was caught by someone, a robed, hooded mystery woman offering a single phrase to Luke: Skywalker, follow your destiny. So, wait a minute. There was just some mysterious, random robed woman waiting at the bottom of that big old tunnel thing, just waiting. Did she know that someone was going to cut off a hand with a lightsaber in it, or she just get lucky that day? She took a wrong turn in Cloud City, found herself at the bottom of that long tube, and a severed hand holding a sacred Jedi weapon just came falling from the sky, and she can pawn it for money or something now. Let's see here. Robert Roberts, can we ask where your seemingly academic education literature comes from? You have a BA or MA in literature? I do. It's I specialize in English. Yeah, the English literature and writing. So I can go to creative writing, and I can also do. I've also had a hand in business writing. I can do both. I can do both. Let's see here. Let's see. So yeah, his hand gets cut off. His hand gets cut off, falls down the tube, and there's going to be some random robed woman down there whose lucky day it is. She just catches it. Now that Luke has entered the pit where all fallen scrap on Cloud City comes to rest. So this robe lady was what, a garbage collector? I guess so. Is the Star Wars universe so obsessed with robes that even the garbage men wear robes? The official preview of Star Wars #4 gives an even bigger and more loaded loaded vision for fans to dissect. The experience isn't too dissimilar from the Force Vision Rey experience touching the lightsaber in The Force Awakens, suggesting a similar type of communication is at work. But unlike Rey's, the new twist is changing the past in order to stitch together the original trilogy and the new. And from the looks of it, the true travels of the Skywalker saber could change everything fans know about Luke's ascension to a Jedi Knight. Oh, they're just messing with the original canon. They're messing with the original canon, aren't they? They're trying to alter and rearrange original canon so they can save the new stuff. Is that what they're trying to do? I really hope not. I really hope not. But they're messing. But Disney is messing with Star Wars canon.
Oh dear.
Not good. Not good, chat. RES SGD, thanks for the 10. I still like the old EU explanation. Luke's lightsaber and the hand were used to create a clone of Luke. So they actually did that then. That's interesting. Of course they did that because that's actually interesting. So of course they did. And then the original Luke had to kill him. And after that, Luke gives it to Mara Jade. I hope you mean the lightsaber, right? You mean the lightsaber? I hope he didn't give Mara Jade his severed hand. Yeah, that'd be a Da Vinci esque strangeness there. Let's see here. Rock and Sale, thanks for $1.99. I swear to God, if that woman is Rey, I really hope it's not Rey. I've not read these comics. I really hope it's not Rey, though. I know it can't be. It cannot be because Luke was still young here, so it cannot be. Unless they introduce time travel, then it can't be. Which I wouldn't really actually put it past them introducing time travel. So let's see. Essentially, to Jedi Knight, the mystery Luke is trying to solve will continue into future issues, but readers can already see how this new chapter in the Star Wars saga begins. Take a look for yourselves at the official preview pages of StarWars.com below. So they're going to the junk pile, and there's junk. So how long ago did they go to the junk pile? Because did they ever get rid of this junk, or is this like a big trash heap? Because I guess if it's a big trash heap that just stays there, it's eventually gonna get full, and so his hand is just rotting there, and no one really cares. So if you commit a murder in Cloud City, can you just dump somebody? Can you just dump the body in this trash heap and no one really cares because no one keeps it? If this is a severed hand is rotting away and a lightsaber is down there and they're expecting to find it still after all that time. I don't know. That's interesting. That's both interesting and horrifying a thought. Let's see. Uh, they're going to go look for it, and is the robed woman Palpatine? It's showing someone with a robe, and then it's showing Palpatine. Oh, up to 702. Thank you very much. Good to see you here. Good to see you. Thanks for the 5. The SJW worldview leads to suicide on many levels. Entertainment needs traditional beliefs to breathe new life into it and refresh fandoms. Yeah, it needs a new perspective. Definitely does need a new perspective. It needs to walk away from woke input, from woke politics, and then just concentrate on character and story. I mean, everyone loves Joseph Campbell, but you know Joseph Campbell was very much conservative and actually supported the war. He actually supported the Americans' efforts overseas. And yeah, Joseph Campbell, the one who wrote The Monomyth and The Hero's Journey, he was a conservative writer, and he created what is to be became the foundation of many a study into creative writing. And so yeah, it's conservatism or right wing politics uh, does not kill creativity. Okay, this is left wing politics might have a role. If you believe left wing politics has a role in media and entertainment, right wing politics definitely does too. Uh, but not politics themselves, not the politics themselves. Okay, no political preaching is going to get me to buy your book. Okay, even if you agree with me, even if you write a book about how socialism is bad, I'm not really interested in that. This is an academic book, and I'm really looking for specifically an academic book. But I don't want to read entertainment that is so overtly political on either side, even if it agrees with me. Now, political parody is another thing entirely, in my opinion. But if it's just political preaching, in the words of Stanley, no one likes to be preached to. He doesn't like to do preaching, and he doesn't want people to preach to him. So no preaching. As long as you keep away from the preaching, it's fine. It's fine. Just keep your overt preaching away from us. Okay. Okay. So it looks like they mentioned a robed woman, but the only robed figure I see with Luke's lightsaber or Anakin's lightsaber is Palpatine. I don't think is Palpatine a woman now. It kind of, or is it another robed figure that looks like Palpatine, but a woman? She just looks really, really old. The figures of the dark side and light sending Luke mixed messages. It is ultimately torn between two missions. One, save Leia frozen in carbonate after last issue, or follow the call of the woman holding his father's weapon. A woman some fans suspect to be Mara Jade, returning to the Star Wars canon. Now that'd be interesting because I heard Mara Jade is a really good character. I heard she's fantastic and everyone loves her. She's a well written female character, not a Rey written female character. So, of course, I'm pretty sure that in the modern era, if they added Mara Jade back into the Star Wars canon, like they made like a movie that took place between right after the when Luke was still relatively young, that they would have Mara Jade. They would have Mara Jade's emancipation movie, Mara Jade's emancipation from Luke Skywalker. I'm waiting for that one. Let's see here. Tyler Preston, Gundam, a political war mecha franchise, is somehow less political than woke entertainment. Yeah, Gundam is really good. It covers war, the politics of war, but it doesn't have a one side. Okay, it has Earth, yes, and it has Earth fighting someone else, but it doesn't take one side really. It has the main side. It has the what you can consider the good guys, but it also looks at the other side. It also takes a preview of the enemy, even from the earliest iteration, which is I think Mobile Suit Gundam. There's always this concern in how soldiers react with each other. It's really good. Gundam tackles those issues really good. And the thing is, they put story before it. They put story first, characterization first, and then they kind of weave their the political messaging inside the story, which is how it should be. It's not even really political messaging. It's just showing the effects and the destruction war leaves behind, and the effects war has on soldiers and people of both sides. Yeah, Gundam is really good. Mobile Suit Gundam was one I really enjoyed because it came out on Toonami. It was fantastic. I think it came out. No, Gundam Wing came out on Toonami. I think maybe Mobile Suit Gundam came out later. But I do remember I watched Mobile Suit Gundam eventually, and it was good. I really liked it. I really liked the characterization. I like the how Amuro was just this the whiny nobody, and then he got skilled. He got good. Maybe I should use that, and I should use Mobile Suit Gundam in a future video. So I am planning to compare Rey to Saitama, to explain why Saitama is not a Merisu while Rey remains a Merisu, even though they both have godlike powers. Let's see here. The solicitation details. The solicitation details for the next issues confirm the next steps on Luke Skywalker's search for the Jedi wisdom will send him in pursuit of this mystery woman and planet. But who she is, what she's after, and how it will result in Luke's new yellow lightsaber is anyone's guess for now. Until the full issue arrives, readers can see the full credits and plot synopsis below. Okay, they have the credits. Okay, so they explain where his lightsaber went for the new movies. For the new movies, by introducing this new mysterious robed woman who I guess caught his lightsaber, or some robed hobo woman who was scrounging around in the junk heap and found a severed hand like you do. And it's but this particular severed hand, unlike the others she's probably found, was holding a lightsaber. And apparently Luke eventually has to have found her. I guess. I think maybe not so, because maybe he doesn't find her. Maybe it's Maz who finds her, and that's how she gets a lightsaber. I don't know, because it could be Luke Skywalker finds it, gives it to Maz when he surrenders everything in life. I don't know. But I guess we'll see what happens when they report on what happens in the next Star Wars comic issue. Let's see. So there's that. They plugged up that plot hole. So I'm not sure if this is nonsense or not, but Norman Reedus is Norman Reedus came out with something interesting. He said something interesting that I wanted to cover because it kind of sounds like nonsense. It's not the typical nonsense. Okay, not the typical nonsense that we cover, but it does sound a little bit like a nonsense. So let's check it out. Walking Dead, Norman Reedus says he'll burn down the show if Daryl dies. Now, Arias SED5, thanks for the 5. SED, thanks for the 5. See, that is the problem. First, Disney killed EU and all the great characters. Now they want to revive EU characters just to save their dumpster fire. Yeah. Because the expanded universe, I'm told, was a fantastic expansion on the Lucasfilms, the George Lucas original trilogy. And unfortunately, Disney has declared all of those non-canon and are just trying to go back. They're going back on their hands and knees. We're doing the walk of shame, trying to scrounge around in the playground, the toolbox of the expanded universe, so they can help repair and plug up the holes in the horrific mishandling of the Star Wars franchise. This is why they can't sell you new Star Wars without old Star Wars. They just can't, because no one wants their new stuff. They want the old stuff, so they're just dressing it up in the old stuff, even if the old stuff they're talking about is from the expanded universe. Horrific stuff. Horrific position they put themselves in. That's what happens when you go woke. Insult to the human race. Thanks for the 5. Have some money and have a great rest of your day. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And watch out, because it is, of course, Friday the 13th. So throw some salt over your shoulder. Watch out for ladders. Do not walk under them. And be wary of black cats. You don't need any extra bad luck on Bad Luck Friday. Oh, here we go. Anyway, one second. Much better. Here we go. Let's have a little drink of water. And here we go. So Norman Reedus from Walking Dead. First of all, I can't be relieved The Walking Dead is still going on. I think this show needs to end. Okay, they need to wrap it up. It's been going on too long. Let's end it already. But The Walking Dead, Norman Reedus says he'll burn down the show if Daryl dies. In an interview with Conan O'Brien, The Walking Dead star Norman Reedus says he'll burn down that building in response if Daryl were to die. It sounds like Norman Reedus doesn't want Daryl dying anytime soon. I mean, it's really good job security. He's probably getting paid a lot because he's one of the most. I think if he's not one of the most popular people on the show, he's the most popular. Because that's all I see is either Rick, Michonne, or Daryl. Those are the three main people you kind of see commonly now associated with the Walking Dead. Let's see here. It sounds like Norman Reedus doesn't want Daryl dying anytime soon on The Walking Dead. Long-time running zombie drama is currently in its 10th season. It's been going on for 10 years. The Walking Dead has featured a massive roster of characters. Many have died since the show's first season, but a couple have survived. One of them is Daryl Dixon. Daryl has remained one of the most popular characters on the show. His crossbow and demeanor have become ingrained in popular culture. After Andrew Lincoln left the show in season 9, Reedus received top billing and continues to this day. Daryl is one of those characters many fans dub untouchable. because he's so popular. Someone who won't be killed off. So far, that has proven to be true. Still, Daryl came close to death in a recent episode, Stalker. A battle with Alpha leaves Daryl in critical condition because, of course, 100% of battles you have with Doctor Alpha leaves you in critical condition. But the battle with Alpha leaves Daryl in critical condition. If it weren't for Lydia, Daryl would have likely been the latest casualty. Fans of the character will be pleased to know Reedus doesn't want Daryl to pass on anytime soon. Norman Reedus recently sat down with Conan O'Brien discussing Daryl on The Walking Dead. As Conan tells Reedus, the talk show host has interviewed various actors for the show before and after their characters' deaths. Conan comments on Daryl staying alive all these years, Reedus saying, "I don't know how that happens." Conan then asks Daryl, "How would you feel if the producers one day told him the next episode would be his last?" Reedus' response is simply, "I'll burn the bill. I'll burn down that building." Let's see here. If The Walking Dead ever loses Daryl, the ratings might take a hit. The show lost Andrew Lincoln and Diana Guerra in leaving this season. If Daryl were to go to, they would leave Carol as the only surviving season one character. How come Carol is still alive? A lot of people died, and for some reason, Carol is still alive. Carol should have died a long time ago. If it seems probable, Daryl will live on to the show's end, but time will tell. Currently, Daryl is helping Hilltop contend with Alpha's assault. There are a lot of variables from the Walking Dead's future. The Whisper War is the primary conflict currently, but it seems seeds are being planted for the Commonwealth storyline. Commonwealth was the final comic book arc of The Walking Dead, so it's unknown if the show will go beyond it or end there as well. So I guess it might be coming to an end, which is good. Let's put The Walking Dead out of its misery. One thing that is confirmed is Maggie's return for season 11. Hopefully, Reedus' Daryl is there to welcome her back with open arms. Let's see here. Oh, Rocket and Sam, thanks for $1.99. Nobody fires Daryl. Daryl fires you with fire. apparently, apparently. So, if according to Norman Reedus, if they try to kill off Daryl, he's going to burn down the building. He's going to burn down the show. You can't get rid of me that easily, he says. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and go with this opinion piece. Let's see here. This was recommended by Doomcock. Doomcock said it was fantastic. So let's see what it says. See what it has to say. Opinion: why knowing who our heroes are destroys the agenda. So this sounds promising so far. Let's check it out. We are all laughing at retconning now. We certainly are. It's become a meme. I think J.K. Rowling started this meme, and Star Wars has picked it right up. We're all laughing at retconning now, but this is perhaps the most obvious symptom of what is happening in our culture and our Western canon. We don't know who we are anymore. J.J. Abrams did not write an amazing Star Wars film, or even a good one, or perhaps more harmful than the lack of good storytelling, the lack of identity for this trilogy and for the supposed lead character. Rey. It's true that Rian Johnson stole an identity from Rey, from us as the audience, which by stripping her of a family name, home, and history. In the Last Jedi she was even more of a blank slate than in The Force Awakens. J.J. Abrams, however, destroyed anything Rey could have ever stood for by giving her an identity and then discarding it. Rather than allow Rey to rise from the ashes of the evil that was the Emperor, not letting it define her, and outshining his evil with her own deeds and merit, so that the Palpatine name would be remembered for inspiring greatness instead of inspiring fear, as Luke had done with his family history. JJ, so it's basically redeeming the Palpatine name, like Luke Skywalker redeemed the Skywalker name. J.J. Abrams chose to callously redistribute the Skywalker name. Skywalker became a brand, a label, something to be slapped on an inferior product to disguise it as a genuine article. No longer a family lineage or legacy. This disservice, this disservice to both character and fan is so asinine. It is a wonder that it was ever allowed. Well, of course it was allowed. Disney, Star Wars, Disney, Lucasfilm will allow anything, especially if it hurts Star Wars. Especially if it hurts Star Wars. Thank you much, so for us. Putting the link up there for Dr. Alpha on Indiegogo. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Let's see here. The desperate attempt to appease all while being validated and relevant enough to meet the cries for injustices to be rectified meant a two front battle, capturing the elusive other market and still satisfying the existing fan base. Any strategist or student of history can tell you how the scenario ends for the entity splitting its forces slash focus. And now, so can any Star Wars fan or anti fan. You mean a house divided in on itself cannot stand? Something like that. Something like that. A lack of of a lack of definitively written characters and story is what has led so many once great IPs to ruin. They have forgotten who they are and despairingly searching for themselves, and are despairingly searching for themselves. The problem is they are no longer welcome by a loud few who never supported the IPs before. It's exactly right. The people who are crying for such drastic and extreme changes in these franchises and the characterization of the main characters of these franchises were never fans of these franchises in the first place. It was really loud and want to control what the things you like. They were not fans. They might disguise themselves as fans, but they were never fans who never supported the IPs before. And now that they have so altered the IPs to fit their insatiable hunger for validation, these blaring few leave these blaring few leave the once great IPs into the cold, stripped of anything and everything that ever made them stand out. It is no wonder that the mental health crisis in the country is at an apex. There is approximately half the populace being told that by merely existing, they are guilty of hate crimes, oppressive toxicity, and must subvert themselves to pay for these sins, the few routes to escapism left. Yeah, everywhere you go, you're being told you're evil, that you're a walking sin. And when you go to your favorite franchise to forget these people who are constantly and consistently calling you evil, from the celebrities down to the Twitter rando, you have it again in the shows calling you evil for being, well, just existing everywhere you go. There's just no telling why. I wonder why so many people are feeling the effects of mental illness or feeling that their mental health has been degrading. It's all because of these people who are already mentally ill are causing you to degrade it. They're wearing on it like a sea, like a river against a stone, just eating away at your mental fortitude, bit by bit, until it's no longer there. Let's see here. A few routes to escapism left. In the next breath, there is a demand for more companies and studios to cancel anyone who dares challenge these ideas, leading to an overwhelming exodus of people from traditional entertainment sources to more niche markets. Unfortunately, these markets are being plagued by the same nihilism and demand for sameness, in order to identify with the relative agenda as their traditional counterparts. Thus, creativity is being stifled under the guise of good intentions and reinforced by threat of doxing and cancel culture. The praise Sonic received by fans for listening to fans, and then being rewarded with an opening and second weekend that exceeded expectations, they only heightened the nearly delirious, power drunk so called do gooders' frantic pitch to convince any and all that all established canon must be dismantled for the sake of righteousness. Yeah, they want to destroy the past. They want to kill it if you have to. Like someone tightening their fists to prevent the sand from slipping through their fingers, only to lose more and more. The woke elitists and self proclaimed social justice warriors are seeing the writing on the wall and are attempting to snuff out any detractors and safe havens for creatives. Yeah, the tyrant and the creative are blood enemies, even if the tyrant is touting morality in order to stomp out creativity. If even one well-written character with the power to spark the imagination and ignite the soul, heralding the greatness that lives within all of us to shine through is allowed to stand, the entire narrative falls apart. There used to be two camps: those who sought to be entertained and those who provided the entertainment. Now hiding within both camps is a third, agenda-driven plague. Hey, they call it a plague too. I call it a plague, a disease, a virus, all those things. They're all pretty much that. They demand as entertainment seekers that their views to be adhered to. As creatives, they denounce anyone who doesn't invest individually, earn time and money into the product, placing blame for the product's abject failure on the populace. And it's not me who's wrong. It's not I who created something terrible. It's you who refused to buy my terrible product. Dracos V kind of reminds me how they're going for anime now. They actually are trying to get anime banned from Patreon. Yeah, I heard about that. Raging Golden Eagle, I think, tweeted that out, or at least commented on it. He's saying where Patreon is banning all anime, not just the ones that are pertaining to underage kids or something like that, but all anime. I think they said was being outlawed from Patreon. And of course, you have the dubbing companies who are altering things to fit political correctness. The plague has muddled the line, that was once a market of creators presenting the work to the customer based on who had the choice of either accepting or neglecting it. By playing both sides of the market, the ability to control the narrative around the projects deemed worthy belongs in the hands of very few. It is only the inferior idea that fears the light. It is only the inferior idea that fears the light, that seeks to silence opposition rather than hear them out. So the proof is laid bare for the individual to witness for themselves. When the power is in the hands of the individual, greatness is not a consideration, it is a requirement. So rather than breathe life into worthwhile characters they are, who know who they are and what they stand for in a world that either parallels our own is a fantastical universe separate from what we know, the canon destroyers seek to control the narrative that mediocrity is truly reflective not only of what we seek in entertainment, but what we should accept in our own lives. Let's see. When words are repurposed, when order is denounced, facts dismissed, and feelings are placed above objective measure, chaos reigns in the hearts of the minds of any who attempt to make sense of it. This is regarded with the degradation and bullying from the same people perpetrating the canonical hijacks, and this must be met in antithetical measure. Create, write, draw, paint, dance, sing, inspire. Always remember where you came from and use every day to build something greater than yourself. You may falter, you may fail, but you will know what you are capable of, and more importantly, you will know who you are. And this is why movements like Comicsgate are so important, because as I read this article, it's exactly what they're doing. So it's important not only for us to start critiquing the mainstream and start letting people know why these things are so wrong, and why what they're doing to establish canon and the age-old character we don't know and love is fundamentally wrong. It's also important that new fronts on creativity are made, creativity that are not beholden to social justice or the Twitter Puritans or anything like that. A creative area, a creative arena that's free to be creative. That's why movements like there needs to be more movements like Comicsgate. The Comicsgate is the one I know that is not only critiquing the mainstream, but also making an alternative marketplace, alternative to the mainstream. But there needs to be. I mean, if only GamerGate had done that. If only GamerGate had become this counterculture alternative marketplace of alternative game creators. But I know how difficult it is to create games. I know how time consuming it is to create games, and how difficult it can be. But we kind of need this now. We're at a point where we kind of need that they're not going to listen. The mainstream people. They're not going to listen. And if they do listen, they can't really speak out for fear of losing their own jobs. So what needs to happen is it's kind of a if you build it, they will come moment. Because with Comicsgate, when it became a publishing medium, it became a publishing force where a lot of independent publishers and independent creators can come out and make their own comics and get funding for it. Yeah, there a lot of industry professionals started coming towards Comicsgate and started becoming sympathetic and outing themselves as sympathetic towards Comicsgate. Billy Tucci being one, Art T. Bear, Ethan Van Sciver is one of the very, very well known ones. John Malin, the list goes on. More and more, and more often, professionals in the industry of comics are showing sympathy and are outing themselves as sympathetic to the Comicsgate and knowledgeable on how wrong the takeover by social justice is. But a lot of them are staying quiet. I mean, it's not everyone can take the stand. Not everyone can take the stand and call themselves a member of the counterculture, and that's understandable because this is not a game; it's real life, and they come out. These people will try to destroy you. They will try to end your life. They will try to ruin your career and make sure you are eating out of a gutter. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if they saw you eating out of a gutter, they would call the cops on you so that they put you in jail or something. As your boy Zach said, they wanted to destroy him so badly that if they succeeded in making him homeless, they would track down what homeless shelter he's staying at so they can get him kicked out. These are the worst people humanity has ever produced. So yeah, I completely understand why they will not come out, but there is evidence that more and more people are becoming enlightened to movements like Comicsgate, movements like the Fandom Menace. I'm pretty sure that's how Doomcock got his inside track on the way on how the Rise of Skywalker was going, because more and more people are becoming more sympathetic to the fans, to the counterculture that have been arriving and growing to counter the mainstream. And see, Rocket Insano, thanks for $1.99. They spent years deriding people who care. Now this, yeah, they spent years turning away the customer, turning away the fan, turning away the loyalty, and rewarding faithfulness with insult. And now they're wondering why we don't go see the new political rant anymore. They're wondering why. They're ultimately destroying themselves, but unfortunately, they're taking down our beloved franchises, our beloved modern myths, down with them, and that seems to be the uh, that seems to be the goal of theirs. They hate the franchises they are working in. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so that was a very good article. I applaud whoever wrote that. It wasn't Lady Grave, but it was A.C. Graves. So whoever wrote this, bravo. This is very well done, very precise, very concise, and spot on. Spot on. So if you want to, it's on Bounding into Comics, and it's called Opinion: Why Knowing Our Heroes Are Destroying the Are Who While Knowing Who Our Heroes Are Destroys the Agenda. Very good article. One of the best I've read in recent history. Very, very good. And almost essential, I would say, because it actually highlights and lists out all the problems that is happening. This cascade of of disgusting social justice as is running rampant in the things that we love. Let's see here. Zofat, thanks for the two. The 20 DKK. Gotta go. Got a fanfic to write. Have a great day. You as well. Let's see here. Obama. I do like Comicsgate though. So Comicsgate has been endorsed by Obama, the Obama. So we are on the right side of history now. Thank you very much, Obama. I'm very glad you watched my streams, Obama. But yeah, join Comicsgate. We are now on the right side of history. Thank you very much, Obama. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see here. We have a video to watch. I picked out a video. If you want to stick with me through it, we can, or we can save it for next time. We can save it for Monday. I'll let you choose, chat. You want to cover this video? About 25 minutes long, but it's by a channel that was suggested to me. I think on Smudboy's stream. It's by a YouTube channel called Jules Chan, and it seems like it's very promising. I watched the first few minutes. Seems very promising. So I'll let you choose, chat. I'll give you a few seconds here, a few minutes. Oh, well, more seconds. But should we watch this video now or save it till Monday? Should we go ahead and end the stream now and save the video to Monday, or watch it now? Hex Harper, thanks for the 5. I hate to admit it, but we owe SJWs. How many people wouldn't be creating if our favorite stuff wasn't ruined? Thanks, you jerkwads. Exactly. Yeah, so there is a light side to everything, and one of the light sides, the bright sides to an SJW takeover is now it opens the doors and the floodgates for a new wave of creators and new wave of IPs to enter the mainstream and have a shot at succeeding. So, yeah, that's excellent. I love it. I love that part. I really, really do. I just wish it happened under better circumstances. Okay. Okay. So it looks like everyone wants to watch it. We can do that. We can certainly do that. Let me get it loaded up right here. 1 second, chat. 1 second. Let me get everything set up just right. Perfection. And we'll close out the Friday the 13th stream by covering this video. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I watched the first few minutes, and it seems promising. It's by Jules Chan, and it was suggested to me. I don't go looking for the stuff or a small channel, because I think he's a small channel because he's hidden his like and dislike number count, and he's hidden his subscription count. So I'm assuming it's a small channel. But let's check it out. And 1 second. Okay, and we're good to go. Let's check it out. And go ahead and full screen it, and we will cover it. Go ahead and mute that. I'm not really sure if it's copywritten or not. So I don't want to open this video up and then it gets sniped from the heavens by YouTube. So let's see.
Yes, this video took a long time to produce, and I'm so sorry. The main reason this video was delayed was because...
Okay, judging by the aesthetic and the fact that his name is Jules Chan, I think I guess, usually covers anime. So let's see. I picked this one because he dresses the Mary Sue. It's something I cover, and it's something that's more generically geared towards writing in general rather than just specifically anime. So let's see how it goes.
Well, was because this was a bit of a difficult subject to tackle. Not because it was a difficult subject for me to understand as a content creator, oh no. I know the term Mary Sue is a useless buzzword that doesn't help creators, critics, or fans. No, I found this difficult because the term, like all buzzwords...
See what I mean, chat? Mary Sue is a useless buzzword that doesn't help critics or fans. It does. Isn't a buzzword... it's been demonized. The word Mary Sue has been demonized as a buzzword recently because everyone wants to defend Rey, and so they have to either bash Luke, or they have to call Luke a Mary Sue, or they have to say that Mary Sue is sexist now, or they have to say Mary Sue is just a useless, empty buzzword with no real meaning. There is real meaning. Okay, it was emphasized in A Trekkie's Tale. It highlighted what the Mary Sue more or less looks like, and I expanded on the definition in my videos. It's still the same exact definition you see in A Trekkie's Tale, just expanded upon. It's still the exact same thing. It's a character who enters the story that kind of becomes a black hole, and all the plot and the characters revolve around them, and the reality warps around them. So let's check it out. See, already promising. Already trying to discredit the term Mary Sue as just a buzzword that has no real substance in it.
is so nebulous, therefore difficult to explain to normal people as to why this piece of fanfic slang needs to die a grisly death and has
It's not difficult to explain to normal people. I mean, Paula Smith did a really good job doing it. She became famous. She wrote a really short parody story highlighting what a Mary Sue character is, and I'm pretty sure most people understood it. So it's not that difficult to explain to normal people, as you put it. Okay, not that difficult. I'm pretty sure there's some bias going on here. That you don't want Mary Sue to be an easily identifiable thing. You don't want Mary Sue to be a thing at all. You want it to be some sort of nebulous term that people just use as a buzzword when it absolutely is not. Unfortunately for you,
no place in critical analysis. A lot of
it
novice
has a big place in critical analysis. How come it's going to become EFAB? Every single thing you say, every single word you just said is wrong. And just pause it after every single word you're saying so far. We're only 48 seconds in. A lot of that was your intro. Not good. Not good. Okay, so yes, the term Mary Sue has a place in critical analysis, especially if you define it first. Because in critical analysis, if you're going to bring in a term that a good portion, you're thinking a good portion of people will not have at least a grounded fundamental grasp on, you define it. Okay, you define it first. Even the video we covered yesterday, where we're talking about story resonance, even Wisecrack in their video brought up story resonance and they defined it. Okay, and we used that definition to debunk his arguments, but he still defined it. And so it's really easy to use terms like Mary Sue in critical analysis as long as you define it, because that is just common practice to use a term and define the way you're using the term for the sake of argument. So you're wrong. You're just absolutely incorrect if you say that the term Mary Sue is both a buzzword and has no place in critical analysis. Okay, it does. You just hate the term Mary Sue because I guess we'll find out where your biases are.
writers and critics trip up on this term and think it's productive to use it in analysis to explain the failings of a story or character. But unlike a lot of novice writers and critics, I actually put effort into thinking about this, which also solves a lot of problems concerning characters people erroneously call Mary Sues. Now, what exactly is a Mary Sue? Well, I
Yeah, what exactly is a Mary Sue? Tell us. Tell us what it is.
wish I had a street for
Oh, you're going to TV tropes. Okay, interesting. That's a good place to go, by the way. That's where we want to know about tropes. I really like going to TV tropes myself. So let's see what he uses here. Rock and Sailor Dix for 99. This is a parody, right? The sub bottom ain't real. I don't think he's showing his subs actually. Take a look. He has no sub count, as far as I can see, and there's no dislike count. There's no like count. The only thing he really has here is a view count. And usually in the following up to this sort of behavior, I'm pretty sure he might curate his comment section too. So this is already promising. So I'm pretty sure I can go ahead and guess that he's going to be defending the usual movies and things like that. Going to be giving us the usual talking points. Already he's given us that Mary Sue is just a buzzword, is meaningless, and which only came about really when Ray came about, because they're trying to, let me see here. The sub bottom ain't real. The sub bottom ain't real. Oh, not that kind of sub. Okay. But usually the talking point of the Mary Sue is just a sexist term. It's just a nothing term. It's meaningless term. They usually came about when Ray came about, because they don't want Ray to be Mary Sue because she absolutely is. So we'll see, but I don't want to jump into conclusions. We'll see what he has to say. I've not seen this video all the way through, or I haven't even seen most of this video, but we'll see what happens.
straightforward answer for you, but there's not really one. Some might say, oh, they're super beautiful, they're good at everything, they don't have flaws, they don't have character development, they're super perfect at everything, guys. Ugh. And they warp characters and the world around them to the
Yeah, that is the one central truth of Mary Sue. They do warp characters in the world around them. They just warp it. They warp it out of context. They warp it out of and they warp it in ways that don't make any sense. That don't make any sense logically within the context of the world, or even within the context of the universe. They just break rules. They make new rules to suit their needs. They break rules. They break old established rules to suit their needs, and characters walk around them. Confident characters who are traditionally, confident, will suddenly become just suddenly freeze or become unsure of themselves around a Mary Sue, just so the Mary Sue can be confident and overshadow them. That's what we mean by they warp characters around them. That's what we mean by they warp reality and story around them. Boom her thinks so too, because the dislikes are it's bigots and foams. Just as a warning to if you ever see someone who has the dislikes and stuff like that gone, well, some people might have good reason for that. Just keep in mind that Mundane Matt once argued that that YouTube should get rid of the dislike button. Mundane Matt wanted the dislike button gone, and you don't want to be like, if anything else, the person you don't want to be or even be like is Mundane Matt. Okay, just don't do it. It's a bad life decision. Let's see here, but yeah, there are several examples and iterations of Mary Sue. However, I mean, if you go to TV tropes, there's a long list of different flavors of Mary Sue. I even list one or two in my videos, like the I think it's called Possession Sue, where it happens in fan fiction, where it can happen in canon too. But I mean, it usually happens in fan fiction where the writer comes in and just takes over a character. For example, I think let's see, what's it, Naruto. Like if their favorite character is Naruto, they come in and they make Naruto. They change Naruto from being this goofball to being really confident all the time and being smarter than Sasuke and all that stuff. All that stuff, you know. That's a possession Sue. You take over your favorite character and you mold them and change them into the way you want them to be treated and the way you want them to act. Then you have let's see, insertion Sue or something like that. Where Copycat Sue. Copycat Sue is when you put in a new character in your fan fiction, and it's like the other one. It can also happen in canon technically, but you can put in your OC your OC in your fan fiction, and your OC is basically just a copycat of an already established character, maybe just, I don't know, female or just male. So if you're copying a female character, it's probably just the same character but male, and vice versa. Okay, and if it's not just that easy, sometimes they'll be walking in with the same powers, they were walking with the same backstory. I think one example I use is if you're making an Avatar Last Airbender fan fiction, you'll just add another avatar. That's out of nowhere. Just having a second avatar, even though it breaks canon rules, you just add in a second avatar, so that you can still have Aang, but also have your own character be an avatar. uh, yeah, do not harass them or anything like that. Do not do that. I do not encourage that anyway. I do not encourage any harassment or going over there. Yeah. I'm just covering this video for laughs. I mean, because it was suggested to me. If he makes good points, he makes good points. But I was, from what I've heard so far, it seems pretty promising that he doesn't make good points, or the points he makes are somewhat misguided or disingenuous, that sort of thing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But he makes good points, and he makes good points. But we'll see. But yeah, I do not encourage any going over there and commenting on this video or whatever. I do not encourage that at all.
detriment of the story. However, that's not the only definition you'll come across whenever someone tries to explain what a Mary Sue is. Character is too powerful or has too many powers is like totally OP, Mary Sue.
It's because saying a character is too powerful and has too many powers is not just a general term. Like you can't just there's not one standard for how powerful a character can be before they become Mary Sue, it has to be within the context of the story. So if you have Superman in a superhero world, then he's not really Mary Sue, even though he's that powerful. But if you put Superman in a real world, like if it's a real world without any superpowers, like there's no one else has superpowers, not really a thing, then there's a better chance of him being a Mary Sue. And if it's supposed to be a real world, and then all of a sudden some guy has super strength for no explainable reason at all, then that's more of that's a Mary Sue red flag. Let's see here. Rakinsano, thanks for $1.99. For next week, maybe we can design the perfect Sue. You mean a workable character or the perfect Sue? Perfect Mary Sue. Possible. It is possible. Let's see here. Let's see. So, yeah, there is not one single standard of this character is too powerful. So, for example, I think a better example would be Dream from Neil Gaiman's Sandman. If Dream were a character in a universe that just ran on real world rules, and suddenly he's able to use all kinds of magic, then yeah, he'd probably be too powerful. If there was no drawback to his powers, he would be too powerful. If he didn't have to pay for them, if there was no drawback at all, he didn't have to struggle, then he's too powerful. You can have a character be powerful. This meet them with obstacles that make them struggle, and then they're not obviously too powerful anymore. They have to struggle and might actually lose, and they can't do that anymore. Rey just didn't have to struggle at all. She met Snoke, the literal leader of the First Order, and with 5 minutes he was dead. Within 5 minutes of meeting Rey, Snoke was already cut in half. And then Rey's skills were so bad that the guards, when she fought the guards, they had to cut out blades so she wouldn't die. Like blades literally vanished so that she wouldn't get hit by them. You can watch it. I think Shed Diversity covers that. Someone slashed at Rey with one of those blades, and the blade disappeared so that it wouldn't cut her. That's Mary Sue. That's a Mary Sue moment whenever I've seen one. Okay. Here's where he's making fun of us, chat. This is where he's making fun of the people who call characters Mary Sue, because Mary Sue, of course, is just a buzzword. It's empty. It's meaningless. There's no place within with an actual critique.
Insert character? Ugh, how arrogant. No self-respecting writer would ever do that. Totally a Mary Sue. It's just a power fantasy for them. It's so self-indulgent. A super special race?
Yeah, you can have an insert character. It's just that it's not an insert character is not necessarily Mary Sue. It's just that so many insert characters tend to become Mary Sues. A lot of people say that, well, Luke Skywalker was an insert for George Lucas. I mean, Lucas, same thing. It was a standing character. Well, you know what? Even if that were true, Luke is still not a Mary Sue, because self-insert characters are not Mary Sues in and of themselves. They might become Mary Sues if they're treated like them. If the plot treats them like Mary Sues. Okay. So yeah, self-insert character, a red flag, but not necessarily condemning. As we know, as you've seen, if you like the original Star Wars, Luke Skywalker was a really good character. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, let's see what else do we have. Let's just continue going. Anyway.
Mary Sue, cried the lore nerds. Are they the chosen one? Do they have plot armor? So cliche and predictable? Mary Sue, without putting any effort. Loved and appreciated by everyone and is treated like a total badass and legend? Ugh, so unrealistic and unrelatable. How could I appreciate a character who's just good at everything and has everything line up for them?
Where do you get this picture from? What is this? Where does he get this snobbery, like a French elitist? Let's see here. James Rayner, I agree. Luke is Mary Sue. He didn't lose his hand or anything. Yeah, like Luke failed continuously throughout his journey until he finally reached his full potential by the end, or anything, or he lost his hand. Yeah, that never happened. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's back up a little bit. Let's back up just a little bit and see what he says, because it's really
any effort. Loved and appreciated by everyone and is treated like a total badass and legend. Ugh.
Yeah, you can have a character who's both an insert and loved by everyone and treated and is treated with respect. But the difference between a character that is ever loved by everyone and who's still a good character, and a character who's just loved by everyone, like Ray is that a good character will earn the love. Okay, then you have good character. If you have a good character who just is heaped with love for no reason at all, I mean, for is just given affection and love like that, then probably like a king or a noble, or probably some recipient of some ancient prophecy. And even though Secret of Nim 2 was an awful, awful, awful movie, they kind of handled this particular scenario correctly, because Timothy was part of a prophecy and everyone just automatically loved him. But you could see how Timothy of Secret of Nim 2 was being crushed under the weight of so much responsibility at a young age, and how he didn't really enjoy or like how so many people kept so much love into him, put so much faith into him. It was off-putting, and especially because he did not feel, and he was he was not self-confident enough to feel that he earned it, or to feel that he would be able to live up to everyone's expectations. So yeah, you can have a character that actually is loved by everyone without really earning it. But if you balance it out by making him bad at stuff, or making him look like he's not going to be able to meet up to their expectations, or is weirded out, or is uncomfortable, or is even depressed or driven to some sort of depressive state because of said unearned love, and so much responsibility suddenly being heaped upon him, then you have a balancing out. It balances itself out. It's not a really a Mary Sue act. And then if you're just treated like an awesome fighter without having us seen him being an awesome fighter, we have to see him being an awesome fighter. If we do that, if we see that they are an awesome fighter and that we get to see them, we can at least assume that they have training. Like if we see John Wick, his age, like I said in the video, his age plus the respect he's earned, him being older, we can just assume that he's been through training and everything. But if they're younger and they're portrayed as a novice that has no formal training or anything like that, then we kind of need to see them fight and be made aware how they got these powers and skills, with supernatural development or what have you. And in different scenarios, give different explanations. Insult to the human race, things is 5. Big indicator is skills that aren't backed up by the character and backstory. For example, Desert Hermit Ray being great at swimming and boating. Exactly. How is she able to suddenly be able to boat in such choppy waters that the people who lived there for what seems to be years say it's too dangerous to go across? Okay, you can't just give them skills and expect us to be okay with it. That's why a mentor is so important. Because if they gave Ray a mentor, so just any mentor, if they showed us Ray having any mentor whatsoever, it would have solved so many problems. But they didn't. Ray's just awesome. She's just awesome at everything for no reason at all. Let's see here. Hex Harper, thanks for the 5. Being loved by everyone is one thing. If the laws of nature and probability are among them, you have a Sue. Exactly. If the character is breaking the laws of logic, nature, and probability by being loved by everyone, like if there's no real prophecy or anything, they're just loved because they're awesome, you have a Mary Sue. Especially if they're not really feeling the weight of the responsibility of said love. So if you even have something like that, if you want your character to be beloved by everyone automatically, then you're going to need to have a counterbalance. Okay, so you have Newton's law. Okay, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If your character's getting a bunch of unearned love, make him feel uncomfortable, make him question why, or make him feel unworthy, make him feel take away the self-confidence. Okay, and have them wonder, will I be able to meet up to all these great expectations that people have of me? Something like that. That makes them more human. That makes them more character. That fleshes out the character. And the humanity is important because it's the humanity that really connects us. And it's that humanity that allows us to relate to the person, because it's that humanity that crosses cultural divides and even time divides. Okay? We're all, whether you live in the Roman era or live in modern day, well, most of us are human. I'm not sure about NPCs, but at least most of us are human. 99% of us are human. Okay. And we, as humans, can connect with someone else's display of humanity. That's why we like to read about people from different cultures hundreds of years ago, because we read about their lives, we read about their humanity, the human parts of their lives. That's what really interests a wider variety of people. Reconcile, thanks for $1.99. But X is a Mary Sue. I did not actually read this. Eagles did not actually read this. Yeah, uh, that's one of the most usual defenses. But this person's a Mary Sue. If you raise a Mary Sue, but X is also Mary Sue. This character is a Mary Sue. The character you like is a Mary Sue for these reasons. But this character you like is Mary Sue because I said so. Yeah, so it's usually a desperate attempt to kind of white knight for their favorite character. RES SGD, thanks for the 5. Like when I saw Luke become the wuss in episode 7, I immediately know the Disney trilogy is going to be a flop. Yeah, what they did was a horrendous betrayal of Luke Skywalker's character. I think what they call him Jake. He was so not Luke Skywalker, just called him Jake. It's very fitting. But that is what they're doing with the established canon of so many other franchises. Is that they're just stomping on the legacy and trying to fix it to fix their supposed agenda. Was not even supposed. I think they outright say they're trying to fix it for their agenda. It's really strange. Anyways, keep going.
So unrealistic and unrelatable. How could I appreciate a character who's just good at everything and has everything line up for them? Oh, such a Mary Sue. Paragon? Oh, what?
Just because you say it in a mocking tone does not mean it's not true. Okay.
What are you, Jesus? Mary Sue? The everyman? Oh, so.
Paragon is not a Mary Sue. This is a strange argument because everyone who defends Rey says that Superman is a Mary Sue because he's really moral and righteous and stuff. Superman is not a Mary Sue. He's a paragon. There's a difference. So many people, some of these defenders either mistakenly mix up Mary Sue and Paragon to think it's the same thing, or they purposely call Paragons Mary Sues just so they can call well-established, well-loved characters who work, characters who are very popular, so they can call them Mary Sues. But they're not Mary Sues, they're Paragons. There's a distinct difference. And yes, I'm actually planning a video on explaining that distinct difference right now. Not right now, but as soon as I get off the stream right now. But no, Paragons are not Mary Sues. Everymen are not Mary Sues. Okay? The Everyman story is specifically so that we can see that even in the what we deem as an average person can have some value to society, can have some value to the human race, can have a special spark of talent or greatness somewhere within them as long as they can find it. That's the Everyman story. Luke Skywalker, despite being the son of Darth Vader, is still an Everyman story because he did not just become powerful because he was related to Darth Vader. Luke Skywalker worked for his power. He not just learned that the Force exists and is suddenly able to dominate minds because he was related to Darth Vader. It didn't work that way. He became a powerful Jedi who happened to be related to Darth Vader. Okay? He earned his stuff. He earned his power. He earned everything he had. He might have had a small affinity for it because Darth Vader was his father, but he still had to earn it. Even Mozart, the prodigy of prodigies, had to practice. Okay, he did not come out of the womb already writing down concertos and operas and being a master on the harpsichord and violin. He didn't do that. It took years. It took many years for the Mozart, but it did take years. And it took lots and lots of practice. Okay? Everyman's story is great. Let's see. Rock'n'Sano, thanks for $1.99. Betrayal. Betrayed me. Spoonie, R.I.P. So sad for Spoonie. He went crazy too. He went insane, as far as I've heard. Let's see here. John Moriarty, fantastic LDs. So many people I know call Superman a Mary Sue. Looking forward to it. Oh yeah. I've made this argument, I think, in the comment section before, but I'm going to make a video about it soon-ish. Well, my literature devil soon. So, so take that as you will. Let's see.
Stop trying to appeal to everyone. Stop trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator. Mary Sue. Power and skills that come out of nowhere? Ugh, so contrived. Mary Sue. Is the main character a female? Is she a strong, independent woman in any...
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Oh no. No, no, no. Not good. Not good. I knew it. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. My favorite talking point of all these all these people who try to discredit the term Mary Sue. Well, is she a strong, independent woman? Of course she's a Mary Sue. That's not what makes a Mary Sue. Okay, let me rewind it a little bit. A little bit.
One. Stop trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator. Mary Sue. Power and skills that come out of nowhere? Ugh, so contrived. Mary Sue. Is the main character a...
Okay, on that one, powers that come out of nowhere. This because you say the mocking voice does not mean it's not a Mary Sue red flag. Okay, if it comes out of nowhere, that's one thing, but what you have to do is you have to explain it. You have to make it make sense within the logical continuity of the universe. You might say that Rey's sudden education of being able to dominate minds makes sense, but it doesn't. You have to learn this stuff. Okay, you can have innate force powers a little bit, but they're more like primal. More like you can push things away, you can have heightened reflexes, but dominating minds. There's a reason why people go to brain surgery school. Okay, you got to go to brain surgery school first. You got to go to Jedi Temple school first to learn how to dominate something as complex as someone's brain. Okay, that's why it's weak-willed. It works on weak-willed people because you can't. It's really difficult to do that on strong-willed people. You have to learn this stuff. So that it doesn't make while the force power makes sense in the Star Wars universe, it doesn't. What doesn't make sense and why people complain about it is because Rey learned it such a complicated technique without training, despite the fact that we've seen Jedi need and require training to learn such complex techniques. And that's why it doesn't make sense. The power makes sense, but Rey being able to use the power to such effect automatically without training or anything like that, without any sort of guidance or mentorship, that's what doesn't make sense within the established laws of the Force, within the established canon of the established Star Wars universe. And that's where it becomes Mary Sue. Reckon St. Links for $1.99. Denominators can cause your audience to fraction. Boo. A tip of the hat for the pun, though. Very nice.
Female? Is she a strong...
Is she a female? Is she a strong, independent woman? Then, of course, you're going to call her Mary Sue. And, of course, you're going to bring up this argumentation that no one actually believes. Okay? No one believes this. Except, unless you don't like the term Mary Sue being used, those are the only people who really believe this is an actual fact of a Mary Sue.
Independent woman in any way? Burn her! She's a witch and a Mary Sue! Feminism is the devil!
Yeah, if she's strong and independent in any way, she's a Mary Sue. Give me some documentation on that. Okay. Give me show your resources and show your work on that one. Because I don't believe it. I'm not buying it.
Any character type someone does not like, or any badly written character ever? You bet we're just gonna call them a Mary Sue instead of putting in F.
What do you mean character type? And what do you mean badly written character? A Mary Sue is a badly written character, but I don't think every badly written character is a Mary Sue. But every Mary Sue is a badly written character. We're like 2 minutes. We're only 2 minutes and 50 seconds in. I think we're in for a ride.
Now, to normal, non-writing folk, these criticisms may sound correct, but as I've said before, just because it sounds correct doesn't mean it is when you think about it.
Oh, did he go to that's your boy Zach, by the way. That's Diversity in Comics / Richard C. Meyer. Did he go to Diversity in Comics and think it was this far leftist progressive comics channel? Because it wasn't. It was an honest comics channel. It was a channel that was telling you exactly why modern comics are terrible. And that's why they tried to destroy his life. Because he sat on the internet and flipped through a comic book in his car and said, wow, this is terrible. so they wanted to ruin his life. Oh yeah, that was a brilliant titling. Diversity in comics. Oh look, a far leftist, progressive uh, channel that's going to call bad all these people who hate comics Nazis. And then you go over there, and he's a regular, honest person. He's a normal person who's not insane, and you're looking for someone who was insane, I guess.
it. Now, on a surface level, a lot of these concerns do sound reasonable to worry about. However, like any other lazy shorthand,
Also, how do those critiques to non-writing folk sound correct? They sound correct to nobody. Well, most of them, some of them do. Like, is she a strong, independent woman anyway? Or she's a Mary Sue. Who that sounds correct to nobody. How does that sound correct to anyone at all? That was a straw man you made. Okay, this is a straw man you're talking to. No one's really going to say that sounds correct, especially not the writing people and not the non-writing people. Okay.
these concerns and the term itself is coming to a vague conclusion without explaining why these particular character traits are bad. It would be more useful to explain why a character is bad, or why they were poorly executed, or why their part in the story has a problem, and forget about using the term Mary Sue entirely. If you know why a character is bad, or that there is a problem with them, then just explain why. Bear in mind
that is Mary Sue is a shorthand term. That's why it's used. They say, "What's wrong with this character?" It's a Mary Sue. Oh, okay. I can kind of get a grasp on what's wrong with it. So it's too powerful. His character is too good in some way, too enhanced. It doesn't make sense within the context of the plot. That's essentially what that means. It's like, what's wrong with it? Your character is a Mary Sue. You're gonna have to put in some more obstacles. Oh, okay. And the dreaded Mary Sue is the thing you want to avoid as a writer. So what I want to do is I want to avoid writing a Mary Sue. And what do I think about when I'm writing Mary Sue? A character who's too perfect, who's too powerful, a character who doesn't struggle. It's mainly that one, the character who does not struggle. So what I want to do is look over my story and are they struggling enough? Are they struggling too little? Are they struggling too much? It's really hard for them to have them struggle too much. The only time you can really have a character struggle too much is if you can't really get them out of the struggle unless you add in a Deus Ex Machina. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, the reason why Mary Sue exists as a term of critique is as shorthand. Okay, even if you don't have if you don't know or can grasp a very tangible or solid definition, one universal definition, the term Mary Sue, if you know what it is, more or less what it is, then you know more or less what it is, and you know what's usually associated with it. So if I call your character Mary Sue, you're probably going to have a good idea of what I think is wrong with it. And then you can go along the lines and go along your story and find out, is it too pretty, too perfect? What's wrong with it? What, in the context of Mary Sue, makes it a Mary Sue? Hack for Life thinks the two. Do you think Jules Chan watches Lava Chan? Maybe. I don't know. But Lava Chan he works in politics. He's more on the political side. Jules Chan seems to be more on the anime sides. I don't know. Space Orchard thanks for the 5. Hey Satan, have you read The Wheel of Time? A lot of the protagonists are born with a lot of power, but they have to train to use their full power. That sounds good. I have heard of The Wheel of Time. I have not read it though. And a lot of people have expressed their surprise as to why I haven't read it, and that the fact that I haven't read it, but I haven't read it. But I have heard it was excellent. And I know Smudboy, I think, has. And he said it was fantastic. So yeah, it's on my list. It is on my list. But thank you for reminding me. Anyway, let's keep going with this wonderful critique of how Mary Sue shouldn't be used as a term for literary analysis.
that a lot of these tropes, these character traits, they show up in works of
Let's see here. Electronic 91 does LitDev always delete his stream? These morning streams are not deleted. They are unlisted, but they are on a playlist. So if you want to catch past episodes, or if you didn't catch this whole stream, you can go to my main channel and look under playlists. And there's a playlist there called Morning Nonsense. And that's where they will all be. So they'll be unlisted on my main channel, but you can find them through that playlist if you're interested.
Fiction that have stood the test of time. I mean, look at characters like James Bond. He's handsome. He doesn't seem to have any personality flaws.
Yes.
He can get out of every situation.
Wait a minute. What do you mean doesn't have any personality flaws? He was built on personality flaws. Uh, yeah, he's a drinker. He does all sorts of things. He's kind of arrogant. That's what gets him caught. uh, but yeah, he's also very competent. Of course, they would bring up James Bond. Well, yeah, the James Bond, he's there to be competent. He's there to be really, really good at things because he's going up against villains who are also really, really good at things, who are really powerful. So this is how he did it. He has to go and he has to escape these death traps through guile, through ingenuity, and he struggles. James Bond struggles. He loses people. Even in the most extreme and absurd movies, he loses people and he struggles. So yeah, he can be competent. He can be really good at things. But as long as he struggles, as long as he's put to the test and goes under strain, then it's really difficult to classify him as a Mary Sue. We're up to 702. Thanks for the 5. From what you remember, was my character Giovanni Luciano was a Mary Sue or Gary Stu? You can list a few reasons why or not. Why not? No, I don't think so. As long as you give him struggles, as far as I remember. So yeah, as long as it's like James Bond. If you gave your character struggles, which he is here in this movie, by the way, because this is I think this is Goldfinger. Yeah, he gets captured. He's going to be sliced in half, but he's able to convince Goldfinger to let him go by thinking quickly and giving Goldfinger something he wants. Same thing goes every single time. I mean, James Bond is famous for getting captured and being able to escape, but through ingenuity, not suddenly being handed an answer. Oh, so that's really good. That's really good. They always go to people like James Bond, though. They always go to the competent man archetype to say, well, look, you call this character Mary Sue, but look at all these competent man archetypes. You don't call them Mary Sues because they don't understand why we call these characters Mary Sue. It's not because they're competent at stuff. It's because they are competent at stuff that doesn't and it doesn't make sense that they're competent at stuff. That they are competent at these particular things within the context of the series, within the context of the universe they're set in. Like if James Bond suddenly has super strength, yeah, that's pretty much a Mary Sue. It's very much a Mary Sue moment. If it doesn't go explained, he just suddenly has super strength out of nowhere and he just has it. Then he's just awesome. That means he's a Mary Sue moment. It's a Mary Sue moment. I would mean he is also a Mary Sue at that point.
Situation like Batman, all the
Yeah, and Andrew Clark, yeah, people like James Bond's flaws. He has flaws. Not everyone likes James Bond. In the universe he's in, yeah, a lot of women love him. A lot of women fall in love with him. He's really good at things. Really good at fighting. He's really good at doing plenty of things, but he has a lot of flaws. He has a lot of flaws too to balance things out. He's a drinker. He's arrogant. He can be arrogant at times. That's what usually gets him caught. Actually, being too arrogant for his own good, and all sorts of things. I think he's also prideful, if I remember correctly. That's usually how it goes. Yeah, James Bond has flaws. Ruckin Sailor, thanks for $1.99. It comes from getting all your info secondhand. I think so. I think because his argument seems to be secondhand reused arguments that I've heard many times before. So it seems like he heard a bunch of arguments about trying to defend Rey and all these other Mary Sue characters that are popping up in canon and just put them together in one video. That's what it seems like.
ladies love him, yet he's still considered a major icon in fiction, even to the point where fanboys can't handle a black woman taking on his designation. Not his name, just...
Oh man, it's just one thing after another with this guy, isn't it? It's one thing after another. He just can't go a few seconds without saying something completely ignorant. completely wrong. I need to get a clip of Luke Skywalker saying every word you just said was wrong, because I need that. I need to play that so many times for this guy. So many times. He just not only did he just say that we think that strong independent women and strong independent female characters are instantly Mary Sue's. He's saying that we can't handle what I call the passion of the Bond because they're placing him with a black woman. He actually said this unironically.
Oh, dear.
This is incredible. This is like a walking stereotype. Lieutenant Colonel Tanya von Degruekschaft, thank you very much for the the 50 of whatever currency that is. I'm not sure what that is, but thank you very much. A Mary Sue can be used well in Yoju Senkai. There is MS, very subtle named Mary Sue. She's the antagonist and an exact opposite of the protagonist. Yeah, Mary Sues are always bad writing, but they can lampoon a Mary Sue, make him like really, really perfect and good everything, kind of like just kind of playing on the trope. But ultimately, if it's a good character, they're trying to make it a good character, a fleshed out character, then it's going to be a well written one. And they might be painting it as a Mary Sue. I haven't seen the show, but it's probably a well written character that looks like a Mary Sue. They're trying, playing on the Mary Sue things. Let's see here. Ray Ben, have you seen the Gun and Build series yet? No, I haven't. I heard it was interesting though. And yes, very good point. Bond is a trained professional. He actually is trained. He worked for the British Secret Service. So, like I said before, because he's already a double O agent, because he's already in the field and all that stuff, we can assume he's gone through training. So we can give him more leeway than we can give Ray. Ray is portrayed as someone who has not gone through training and is very young and is a novice and trying to put her through a hero's journey. So we need to see her develop and train, and we don't, then she's just given powers, and that's what makes her Mary Sue. Okay, James Bond is not given his skills because we can presume that he's gone through training and he can presume some innate talents that he has cultivated over the years. Because he's not a 20-year-old guy; he's like in his maybe mid 30s, early 40s when he's portrayed. Usually, somewhere in that range. So we can assume that he's gone through some stuff, that he's learned some things, that he's gone through his own training cycle, he's had his own mentors.
His designation of 007, you crybabies. I'm also very sure that a lot of people watching.
We're crybabies. They're just trying to degrade. That's what they said they were doing. They're trying to degrade James Bond, trying to turn it into a feminist film. And that's their words, not mine. New feminist film for a Me Too movement, trying to just emasculate James Bond as much as possible. But we're crybabies because we're just we're showing emotion, a negative emotion over the blatant ruination of James Bond, a long time beloved figure of pop culture. Okay, tell me another one. Give me another lie.
This video right now have just used the.
What is this even? What is this? Did he make this himself? It looks like it was drawn in crayon or something. How to tell if your character is a Mary? Okay, if he's going to do an insulting voice, I'm going to do an insulting voice too. How to tell if your character is a Mary Sue by Jules Chan. Is the character female? If yes, then the character is a Mary Sue. If the character is not a female, does he use a sword to fight? If yes, then he's a Mary Sue. If no, has he ever fought? Have you ever won a fight? If yes, then he's a Mary Sue. If no, is he a human? If no, then he's a Mary Sue. If yes, is he level 1? If no, then he's a Mary Sue. If yes, is he a Mary Sue? If yes, he's a Mary Sue. If no, yes, he is. He's a Mary Sue. What a brilliant diagram by me, the wonderful Jules Chan. Oh man, I didn't even know they could make strawman diagrams. Oh, this is just fantastic. Yeah, I'm almost certain that he's almost parodying this, but this is too far. If it's a parody, it's a bad one. Because I have to see that some humor in here, but there's no humor in here. It seems to have died off like it has with so many NPC people. Obviously, this is incorrect. Nobody believes this. This is a straw man argument on paper, apparently drawn in crayon or something.
The term to describe a character they don't like for one reason or another, probably even having a whole list of characters. Although, wanna bet your list may differ from others? Here, let's try it. Here are some characters that I've heard people call, to one degree or another, a Mary Sue. Superman, Batman, Wonder.
You know who calls Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman Mary Sues? People who want to defend Ray. They always say, "Well, Ray's a Mary Sue. Why? How come you don't call Superman a Mary Sue? Superman is far more a Mary Sue. Batman is far more a Mary Sue." They're not. They're paragons. Yes, even Wonder Woman. I know she's a straight independent, strong woman, but she's not a Mary Sue. Okay, at least not how she was originally written. I don't think she's even a Mary Sue now. As far as I know, I think in her recent movie uh, introduction, she's struggled. She struggled. And you know what? If how come you're not gonna are you gonna bring up Lorraine from Atomic Blonde? I don't hear anyone saying that she's a Mary Sue. Maybe except for Steven Crowder. I don't think even Steven Crowder called her a Mary Sue. He just said that the fight scenes were kind of unrealistic, which is absolutely not. He was kind of wrong about that. I can explain why, but that's not what this is about. But Lorraine, I have never heard anyone call Lorraine a Mary Sue. You know why? Because she got beaten up. She struggled all the way through that movie, but she was competent. She was highly competent. She was one of the most trusted and highly ranked agents in the universe. That's canonical. And I think she was a triple agent. She worked for the British, and she worked for the Russians, and she worked for the United States ultimately. So she pulled off all this fantastical, almost impossible stuff. I don't hear anyone saying she's a Mary Sue. I don't. I never heard that before. But she's highly competent. She's almost James Bond as competent, and I never heard a huge uproar of calling her Mary Sue. Never, not once. You know why? Because she's not. Tom Blonde is a good movie. I personally love the movie. Lorraine is an excellent character. I had a lot of fun watching her go through the struggles of that era of time of fighting off all these bad guys, guys who are like twice her size, and being able to outwit them and outfight them. And realistically outfight them, and then go through all those struggles. And she ultimately failed. She failed in one of her main missions. Atomic Blonde was wonderful. She was a competent woman. She was strong and independent, which, according to your definition, should mean that I would call her Mary Sue, and people all over the place would call her Mary Sue. But I have not heard that. At least the uproar was not huge. You know why? Because she's not a Mary Sue.
Wonder Woman, Tommy Oliver, Harry Potter, Harry's mom, Hermione, Optimus Prime, Princess Twilight, Rarity, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Rey, Katniss
Again, you know who else calls Luke Skywalker Mary Sue? People who want to defend Rey. You're actually fighting against the people who are trying to defend Rey. So where's your stance here? None of these people are Mary Sue's, but actually I don't know. Some of the people, the ones that I know of, are not Mary Sue's. Katniss Everdeen, I have not seen the movies because I love the books too much, and I want to see how. I do not want to see how the movies ruined her. But Katniss Everdeen, not a Mary Sue. Okay, she's the least Mary Sue character, one of the least Mary Sue characters I've ever seen. She has natural talents, but she's not a Mary Sue. Okay, she struggles every inch of the way in that book. I love the first book of the Hunger Games. It was a masterpiece. I loved it. I loved it. Hermione, she studies. Also, I've never heard anyone call Hermione Mary Sue. I've heard people call Harry Potter Mary Sue, but he's not one. He's not one. Hermione is definitely not, because even though she's probably the smartest girl in school. She studies. In fact, one of the books has her studying so much she had to use time magic so that she can be in all the right classes, because she had classes that run simultaneously with one another. That's how much she studies. So she is not just the smartest person in the school. She is the smartest person in the school because she's earned it. Okay, not a Mary Sue.
Everdeen, Captain Marvel, the 13th Doctor, Gandalf, Korra, Kirito, and I'm very sure at this very moment you guys are scratching your heads at some of the names on this list and going, what? No way they're a Mary Sue. Who said that? It's almost as if the term is very vague and is an excuse to use against characters people.
Yeah. I mean, some people actually do misuse the term. It's usually very blatant, though. It's usually because I hate that movie. The character was totally a Mary Sue. Yeah, I can't argue that the term has not been misused. Okay, it completely has. It has been misused, but that doesn't mean that there isn't some unifying elements to the Mary Sue. Doesn't mean the Mary Sue is useless. Okay, just because a term can be interpreted and misused by people does not mean that it's not useful or meaningful. or that it exists, because Mary Sues do exist. Okay, they do. Alexander Mosley, thanks for the $1.99. I read Hunger Games. Katniss is not a Mary Sue. Exactly. Katniss is probably one of the least Mary Sue-ish characters I've ever had the pleasure of reading about. But some of those characters you did list were Mary Sue. I've heard Korra was a Mary Sue. I've not seen Legend of Korra, but I've heard she was one. But I can't say for sure because I haven't seen it. But I know for sure that Rey is a Mary Sue. And Captain Marvel is a Mary Sue. I haven't confirmed by normie friends of mine that Captain Marvel is a Mary Sue. They love Marvel movies, but they say that Captain Marvel was just too OP, and which confirmed that what I've heard that Captain Marvel from the movie is a Mary Sue. I've not seen the movie yet, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good.
People don't like for one reason or another, or something very arbitrary and superficial or stupid.
So if I can say no, thanks for the $99. Straw man arguments often means you lack a brain. That tends to be the case because usually, if you're trying to argue against someone, then straw man arguments is one time straw man arguments where you put together arguments you actually heard the other side say, which is what I like to do, and then you have ones where you just totally go cartoonish with the other side and say that, oh yeah, you don't like Rey. Well, of course, what this guy is doing, in fact. You use the term Mary Sue. Well, obviously that also means you're a sexist bigot who calls any competent woman or any minority a Mary Sue because they're a competent woman or a minority. Obviously, yeah. No one talks like that. No one thinks that. Okay, nobody does. Nobody within a reasonable mind thinks that, which means 99% of people. Okay. Not how that works. That's a straw man argument. That's the bad type, the really, really bad type, where they make you seem so cartoonishly bigoted or evil so that they can have a manufactured moral high ground. Des Shampoo Tester, thanks for the 2. Korra could bend 3 out of 4 elements as a toddler, no lie. Interesting. I have to see the context, because I know in Avatar, the Avatar usually has a good affinity for developing powers like that, just affinity towards. They're basically a prodigy with bending, all elements. So, but Aang did need mentorship in some cases. But so I don't know. I have to watch it to come to a final conclusion. But I have heard that Korra is a Mary Sue.
Also, notice how a lot of these characters are women? Yeah, here comes the uncomfortable.
You know why? Because I'm not really sure why this is, but a disproportionate amount of characters that do happen to become Mary Sues are female characters, even if they're written by men. I'm not really sure why that is. Some people have speculated it's because they want the Mary Sue to be as vulnerable as possible, and they deem that their character being female makes her more vulnerable. That's just a theory. I'm not really sure why, but the fact is that most Mary Sue-ish characters tend to be female characters. I'm not sure why. I've read theories on why, but it just happens to be true. But just because they're a woman does not make them a Mary Sue character. I don't think anyone really believes that. And just because they're competent or independent or whatever does not mean they're Mary Sue either. I'm pretty sure no one believes that either. You're just making a straw man argument. I mean, some people probably believe that, but most people, I'm pretty sure, don't. Most people probably, I'm pretty sure, don't. And most people are calling Captain Marvel a Mary Sue because she's too OP, and they pretty much outright told us she was during production, saying, "Oh yeah, she can carry Thor's hammer. She can do this. She can do that. She's the strongest person in the universe." All that stuff. And Mary Sue and Rey is a Mary Sue because obviously she just breaks every canonical law of Star Wars. She's just a god from movie 1.
Comfortable truth. The term is very much used against female characters. In fact, that's how it started when the term was first used. The term was originally used in a Star Trek fanzine in the 70s, mostly to act as a parody of self-insert wish fulfillment fan.
Okay, I'm really interested to see how he backs this up, because he might have done research on this, but I'm willing to bet he hasn't. If he does not explain this, then don't worry, chat. I will. Let's see. Exhume Legume? Exactly. Okay, oops. Let's see here. Acton and Mosley, thanks for the 99. Let's see here. Female characters with flaws equals sexism, obviously. Yeah, obviously. You can't have female characters with flaws because that means you're calling all women weak. You're calling all women flawed. And that's the mindset they go into. Chengiz Khan, thanks for the 5. I now know for sure this guy is completely ignorant if he calls Optimus Prime a Gary Stu. That's Mary Sue. I'm not sure if he did though. I think he might have listed Optimus Prime as a Gary Stu or slash Mary Stu, Mary Sue, because he's heard some people call him that. I'm not sure, but I think that's why he brought it up there. But if he did call him that, it's pretty bad. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Insult to the human race. Thanks for the 10. Even if the avatar can bend all 4 elements, they still need to learn the bending styles first. Korra bending multiple elements at age 4 is like Rey using force so well without any training. Yeah, that seems to be the case from what you're explaining it. That because even Aang, I mean, he had training in airbending. He was really good at it, but he had training in airbending, and then he needed to find mentors. That was a big plot element, in fact, finding mentors and teachers to teach Aang the other elements. So no, it's not looking too good for Korra, I must say. But I can't give a definitive result on Korra until I've actually seen it. Barry Ben, didn't the media all call Alita a Mary Sue? And even though most of her fights involve her getting her body ripped apart, I've not seen Alita. I heard she was really good. I heard the movie's really good. I also heard the mainstream media hated her because uh, boys and men liked her, and audiences loved the movie. That's why I'm so obviously the mainstream hated her because it was a like it made the fans happy. You're not supposed to make the fans happy. Making the fans happy is bigotry. But let's see here. He's going over the Trekkie's Tale by Paula Smith. So let's see if he actually gives us the full context or not. We wind it just a bit so we can get the full context for what his argument is.
Was first used. The term was originally used in a Star Trek fanzine in the 70s, mostly to act as a parody of self-insert wish fulfillment fan-made original characters. Now, the problem with coming to that kind of conclusion, and don't pretend you've never done it when you were a geeky teenager, the kind of people writing wish fulfillment like that are teenagers. Very young writers with no experience based.
Okay, so he didn't bring in any context to that. He just made the point and then just left it there to float. Like a horrible turd, like a rancid piece of fecal matter just floating around in your toilet. It just refuses to flush. Okay, so because he didn't, I guess I have to. Paula Smith wrote A Trekkie's Tale. That's where the Mary Sue term comes from. Okay. Paula Smith also happened to be an editor for a fanzine. Okay, and editors, her responsibility was reading through the incoming stories that wanted to be published, writers who wanted to be published in the fanzine. Okay, and there was a time when things were good, but then there was a time where, I think maybe because of some war or I forgot what the context was, but there's a lot of lonely housewives. There's a rampant uprising of lonely housewives who are watching Star Trek. I know this seems absurd, but this actually happened. This is exactly what happened. There are a lot of lonely housewives who are watching Star Trek, so they started writing fan fiction about Star Trek, putting themselves, writing in a younger version of themselves, in their prime, not in their prime, but in the high school age, more or less, so maybe 16 or 17, and they wrote themselves into their Star Trek story as, well, kind of like Lieutenant Mary Sue, as being a super genius that everyone instantly loved, that was really pretty and all that stuff. Very highly attractive, highly super genius, the character that everyone wanted, all of the Kirks and the Spocks wanted to get with, and they always save the day, and then by the end they die tragically so that everyone else can mourn the loss of what a great thing, what a great person left the universe behind. Alex Halo, thanks for the 2. Kazuna I did an interview with the cast of Alita. Okay. I think someone brought that person up before. Maybe I'll check it out this time. I'll keep that in mind. See what the cast of Alita had to say. But yeah, so Paula Smith was the editor for a fanzine. Okay, and there was an uprising of a lot of lonely housewives writing fan fiction and putting themselves, the younger selves, in the universe of Star Trek. And that is what prompted Paula Smith to write her famous parody. because there was such an influx of these, and they all shared little certain little elements, and she put all of the main consistent elements in Lieutenant Mary Sue and the character that surrounded her, and the story that surrounded her. That's why so basically she kind of did what Joseph Campbell did for storytelling, but she did it with character, and she did where Joseph Campbell's put together the hero's journey / the monomyth to show how a story might be or should be done. Paula Smith managed to put together elements uh, of bad character creation and put them all in one convenient package in Lieutenant Mary Sue. That's what inspired her. Okay, so that's what inspired her, because a lot of Lonely Housewives wrote Mary Sue characters and put themselves in stories, and they were all themselves, so they were mostly all female characters. But you're not going to learn that from Jules Chan, because learning that part of the context really puts a dampening in his argumentation style. That a woman created the Mary Sue, because so many women were creating female characters who also happen to be Mary Sues in their fan fiction. These were housewives, not teenagers, but they had written themselves in the stories as teenagers. But you can't get that from Jules Chan. Can't get full context here, because full context is bad. I rock and Alex for $1.99. Look up Empress Teresa, the ultimate Sue for later. I know, I've heard of her. It's crazy. I think I watched a video on Down the Rabbit Hole with that one. It is insane. And very disturbing too, very creepy. So I don't really want to go towards that one unless we're covering it together. So you can all suffer with me as we go through Empress Teresa. Let's see here. Criminal Imagination, thank you very much for the 20. Appreciate it. There's a few things about a Mary Sue I don't mind. Like, a character is abnormal. I'm writing one about a muscular dark elf who can't use magic. The plot says no one can argue their ideas. It becomes obvious. Oh yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with abnormal characters. An abnormal character does not make a Mary Sue. It's just if they're abnormal, if their abnormality breaks the established laws with no given reason, it just does. Like Rey suddenly learning dominate mind without any explanation and contrast to the established rules of Star Wars and how the Force works. Because as we all know, that's not how the Force works. Then that becomes Mary Sue-ish. Okay, but abnormality in and of itself, not a condemning feature. Only when it goes against the established rules and pretty much bends, allows this kind of a get out of jail free ticket for the protagonist, and becomes more like a virtue, get out of jail free card. Pretty much, that's it. And bends the rules that you've set. It's so many things. Let's see here. But thank you very much. Appreciate it. Rock and Sailix for $1.99. But women never watched Star Trek before Discovery. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, of course. The audience for Star Trek was, of course, 0% women. It is, if you believe the NBC social justice crowd. Finally, women are being allowed in Star Trek fandom. Women were always allowed in Star Trek fandom. There were always women in Star Trek fandom. You know why? Because, as I said a few streams ago, women really, really like seeing strong, charismatic men take the lead. Because there's like in Lieutenant Mary Sue, her story, she managed to attract both Spock and Kirk, because that's what the stories did, and their Mary Sue-ishness, and their Mary Sue tropes. These Lonely Housewives put themselves not as a lead, but in a position where they can fill out the romantic fantasies of being in a romance with either Spock or James T. Kirk. They love these strong, charismatic, competent men. That's why they wrote so many fan fictions about themselves getting in a relationship with them. It's just how it worked. Don't blame me for what really happened, okay? This is what happened. This is why it happened. I would imagine the same thing goes for men. Men who make a Mary Sue a self-insert character who is male, probably because they want to fulfill their romantic fantasy of getting with a female character they liked. It goes both ways. It just so happened in this particular instance, it was women writing their own Mary Sue character, so they can they can fulfill their romantic fantasy of getting with a strong, competent, charismatic man like James T. Kirk or Spock. Okay, let's see here.
basically making the written equivalent of fan art. And here's the thing, making wish fulfillment fan fiction for fun, where one's OC is irresistible to Damon Salvatore, the Winchester brothers, Superboy, Nightwing, Sasuke, Zuko, shut up, you've all done it, is the one time where having zero writing standards is okay. It's not canon.
No, it isn't. Being a terrible writer is not necessarily okay. It's just more acceptable because it's fan fiction. It's your own personal thing. But if if you are reading someone's horrific fan fiction about their Mary Sue OC, you should probably point out a few things that are wrong with it. Okay, it's not necessarily okay. It's just not as a big a deal as when it's going into a published work or a canonically established story. But it's not really okay. Especially it's not okay if you want other people to read it, because if it was just for you, that's one thing. Okay, we're not intending to go into writing. Is if it's just for you, that's one thing. But if you want other people to read it and other people to like it, okay, you're going to have to put in some skill, and you're going to have to do proper character development and proper story structure and proper story and plot creation. Okay, so it's not okay unless you plan to never publish it anywhere for people to see in a public forum. So no, it's not necessarily okay.
Canon, it's just for fun, it's a stupid fantasy, that's all. So stop being the fun police with your shitty writing standards. I understand
No.
wanting to sift past all the crappy fan work and get to the good stuff because you're using fan works as supplementary material until
I've said you practice in fan fiction. Okay, I've said that already. I got myself in trouble because now people are going to write fan fiction, but but fan fiction is where it's good to practice. But it doesn't mean. But what I mean is, it's where you can make mistakes. Okay, you can make mistakes in fan fiction. You can practice your techniques and your skills in fan fiction. You can sharpen your skills there. But that doesn't mean that everything you do is suddenly okay. It means you can practice in the already established world and then identify. You have other people read it because people like the world you're playing around in, and have people read it and tell you, oh, this is amazing, oh, this is terrible, and point out why it's amazing, why it's terrible. And you learn from that. You learn from critique. That's how it goes. That's probably the one standard, most common rule of how to become a better artist, a better writer, a better drawer, whatever your artistic pursuit might be. Let's see here. Hex Harper, thanks for $1.99. I'm writing. Is my writing any good, by the way? Just wondering. Oh yeah, I liked it. I like what you've sent so far. I haven't completed what you sent recently, but the first one you sent with Florida Man, that was entertaining. My artist loved it too. He really liked it. Let's continue. Let's see if we can. We'll go for a little bit longer. I'm not really sure. I'm not even sure we will to finish this video. He says every single sentence is wrong. There's always something wrong with what he says. Almost word by word. It's ridiculous. Lady Gravemaster, thanks for the 2. These people hate standards because they have none. Exactly. Spot on, Lady Gravemaster. These people are so upset because people are pointing out Mary Sueishness, because Mary Sueishness implies there's some sort of standard. And these people don't have standards. They just want they are fan fiction writers. They are fan fiction people. They're shippers. Okay, they don't care about story and characterization. Don't care about established lore. They don't care about the characters that you spent decades loving. They care about who Rey is going to get with. As long as Rey gets with Kylo Ren, or as long as Rey gets with Finn or whatever, they're happy. It's a masterpiece to them, and they'll defend it to the bitter end. And that's unfortunately seems to be the case from what I've seen, and from what I've taken in empirically. That seems to be the case. Seems to be the case. Insult to the human race. Thanks for the 5. As Alexandra Mosley pointed out, we're not talking about fanfics. We're talking about adults writing canon material who should know better. Exactly. That's even though it's not okay when someone just does it for fun to have this horrific writing standards, because you should always have standards when you put out something that you want others to read and to potentially like. It is far worse when someone is producing canonical work in an established franchise and are writing Mary Sue's and are disrespecting what has come before. Even Alan Moore, as crazy you might think he is, even in his madness, points out that, yeah, if you're a writer, you should always respect what has come before. It's essential. Marv Alice, thanks for the 5. Get your shitty standards out of here. I love it when they literally are a straw man and save so much work. Yeah, this guy is he seems like a walking living straw man. It's like the Pygmalion story where or not Pygmalion, but actually maybe Pygmalion, where someone makes a statue and it comes to life. Someone made a straw man. It came to life and started a YouTube channel and called itself Jules Chan. It's ridiculous. he's he's checking every box. He's pulling out every single standard issue argument that I've heard before. It's quite frankly, it's quite insane. I don't know where they come from. I don't know where he did no research, obviously, and if he did, he disregarded a bunch of facts, like the context surrounding Paula Smith's A Trekkie's Tale. Like, there's a lot more to it than she just wrote a fanfic. She just wrote a parody fanfic, lampooning the characters that she's come across. You have to know where it came from. Okay, it helps to know where it came from, the context behind these game-changing pieces. Okay, whether you like it or not, Paula Smith's A Trekkie's Tale was game-changing. It was. It rocked the writing world.
New stuff comes out for your show, but don't confuse writers by boiling down a bunch of problems to 2 words with a vague description and think you're helping, especially if the creator in question wants to get better as they get.
It does help, and critique does help you get better. And calling a character Mary Sue because the term Mary Sue is so universally known by writers and artists, okay, people who create plots and stories. It's so universally well known that if I call your character the Mary Sue, you have at least some vague idea of what's wrong with it. Some vague idea. Okay, then that's also the importance of getting a second opinion. But if people are consistently calling your character Mary Sue, then you have some idea what's wrong with your character. Okay, you have some strong, intense idea what's wrong with it. Even if we don't know specifically, that gives you it's hint enough to go over it. Okay, so yeah, it does help. Even if calling it a Mary Sue helps quite a bit. If someone called my character Mary Sue, it would help me immensely because then I know what to look for. I reckon St. Thanks for $1.99. Thanks for the $1.99. Exactly. He will chuckle. Let's see here. Marv Alice, thanks for the 2. Jules Chan, the Galatea of bad arguments. Seems like it's so. Seems like that, yeah. Okay, let's see what other stellar nonsense he has to deliver.
Older. But sadly, as time went on, the parody and the concept of the Mary Sue started bleeding into fandoms and lazy.
Okay, I'll say this: if you are so triggered by someone calling your character Mary Sue, maybe you don't have yet the mental fortitude to become a writer who wants to produce writing that other people read, or want to produce writing that other people even buy. Okay, you have to be able to withstand these things, because if you can't handle someone calling your character Mary Sue, you probably can't either handle any sort of critique in general. And critique is invaluable. And critical feedback is invaluable to writers who want to create stories. I cannot tell you how invaluable that is. Okay? It's a reason why I think you should keep up if you start your own YouTube channel, it's a reason why I think you should not curate your comment section, because some people just there to hate, but some people also provide valuable insight into what you might improve upon. Okay, it's in critical analysis of and critical feedback is invaluable. And if you can't handle someone calling your character Mary Sue, there's a good chance you can't even handle someone just offering you the slightest bit of critique, not even a little bit. So, yeah, Mary Sue is the Mary Sue term is an ultimate good, because it's a good critical shorthand. And even if it's not true, if it's misused, or if you don't agree with it, it's good at the very least to get you thinking or get your mind going, to get your imagination burning, and to how to improve your character. Okay, how to improve and to see where it might be going wrong, why they might think it's a Mary Sue. It's good to get your mind going. Vaughn Master, we're only 6 minutes in. It's like 15 minutes ago. We were at 5. Yeah, I know. It's everything he says is there's problems. I have to pause it after every few seconds. This is insane. This is insane. I might not even be able to finish this. We're going up on 3 hours, kind of running out of time here. Actually, we ran out of time almost an hour ago. But yeah, I might not be able to finish this chat. I apologize. I didn't know it would be this bad. I didn't know. I just didn't know, okay? Might have to finish this next time. Hey, Matt Wenger. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the chat. But I didn't know it would be this bad. I should okay. I should have watched this video and timed it better. Oh, but I don't think we would finish it. In fact, I might have to call it here. Unfortunately. But thank you thank you very much for joining me. You know what? No, we're gonna power through this for a little bit more. He deserves it. He deserved it. So stay on. We're gonna stay on for a little bit longer. Okay, we're gonna go for a few more minutes, maybe 15 more minutes. Okay.
People started using the term to describe characters they don't like, arbitrarily setting up criteria for good character design and setting up a list of bad character design. This is ignoring the fact that a lot of the character types that I mentioned earlier, who are often synonymous with the term Mary Sue, are seen as adored in some of the best works of fiction, still heralded as quality entertainment to this day. The best works of fiction ignore this so-called list of bad character designs made by people.
No, they don't ignore it. It looks like they actually adhere to it. It looks like they actually pay attention to it. Because a list of bad character design is not just there as a standard. Okay? These are they might be red flags. They just might be red flags of what bad character design might be, what might look like in your character. But they don't necessarily make them a Mary Sue, or they don't necessarily make them a bad character. You can have a powerful character, like we said, as long as they're treated well, within the context of the story and the universe and the plot, then they're fine. Okay, we can believe Gandalf could return from the dead because he's a wizard, and wizards are really rare and really powerful in the Lord of the Rings universe. And Gandalf is really wise because he's a wizard and he live forever.
Who love this stupid fanfic term. Overly competent? Hello, James Bond and Batman. Paragons?
No. Overly competent? Okay, overly competent, it's overly competent not just as a standard trait, okay? It's not, oh, your character's overly confident, they're a Mary Sue. No. Overly competent in the fact that it is unreasonable or unrealistic within the context of the plot. Okay? In the context of the plot and the laws of the established universe, if they're so competent that they can just break the established rules of Star Wars by learning a power that has been established to take training and development and practice to learn, and you just do it right off the bat perfectly for almost the very first time, that is hyper competence even in a relatively loose sci-fi setting, okay? Because it's already been established you need training. It's already been established the level of competency, the limit of competency has already been established, and Rey broke it. That's why we say she's too competent in the Force. It's not just because they're competent at all.
Hello, Gandalf, Superman, and Shiro. Powers coming out of nowhere. Hello, Danny Phantom. Chosen Ones.
Danny Phantom did not get his powers out of nowhere. Did you not watch these shows? It was clearly established that Danny Phantom got his powers the same way a lot of superheroes get their powers, by scientific mishap. He became something like a half ghost or something. It was ridiculous.
Man, Paragons? Hello, Gandalf, Superman, and Shiro. Powers coming out of nowhere. Hello, Danny Phantom. Chosen Ones as part of a hero's journey. Hello, Luke. Hello, Harry.
Luke Skywalker was not a chosen one. Aang was technically a chosen one, but it fit within the context of the series. Aang is one of the few chosen ones I'll actually accept, actually like, because it's like kind of a traditional kind of chosen one thing, and they established that just because you're an avatar doesn't mean you were chosen to overcome some great evil. You're just there just in case evil kind of arrives. You're the avatar of the earth, which is why you're called Avatar. But just because you're on a hero's journey does not make you chosen one. And just because you're on a hero's journey does not make you Mary Sue. That's ridiculous. These characters he's listing are not Mary Sue's. They are. I don't think he's actually put up a single good example of what he's trying to argue for.
Hello, Aang. Self-insert author avatars. Hi again, Luke. Hi, her.
Oh no! Come on! You are like the thought of anti-Mary Sue argumentation. This is just awful.
Oh dear.
This is terrible. Terrible. It's just he's just a walking stereotype. I'm pretty sure he got all his arguments from somewhere else, from somebody else. Like he said that I wanted to make a video debunking the term Mary Sue, and someone else gave him all of his talking points.
Hermione, and yes, George Lucas, Luke S., Luke Skywalker, and J.K. Rowling have said they based Luke and Hermione respectively on themselves.
So what? Yeah, insert characters can be Mary Sue's and often are Mary Sue's. It's because they're insert characters, not mean they're Mary Sue's. Is why you look at what actually makes a Mary Sue, what people actually don't like about a character, instead of blaming the person for not liking the character. Okay? Stop victim blaming us.
Heroes talked about like they're legends, and the story bends over backwards for them. Hey, Tommy! Speaking of Tommy, anyone even with a small experience with Power Rangers will know of Tommy, the Green Ranger, and how he's super awesome, you guys. He's like
okay, Tommy was a little bit of a Mary Sue. He was kind of given a lot of special treatment. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I think he got better over time. But yeah, it was a little bit.
legend, you guys. Now, I like Tommy. I freaking love Tommy. He was the most interesting of the original cast, however that wasn't a high bar to clear since the writing wasn't on Saban's list of priorities when Power Rangers first came out. However, it's safe to say that Tommy is still beloved and worshipped by fans and showrunners alike. This is despite his personality being as one-dimensional as any other member of the original cast, or even the second set of cast members.
He wasn't ultimately Mary Sue, but he did have some red flags. He was kind of favored over everyone else. He got special White Ranger powers because he was weak when he was known as the Weak Ranger when he first started out, and then he kind of got really special powers that no one else had. He was kind of he became the chosen one, more or less, according to this plot and script. But ultimately, he turned out to be a good character, a really good character. And there's a reason why he's beloved, because he ultimately wasn't a Mary Sue, but he got close. Okay, there were some moments in there where he got close, but he ultimately turned out to be a really good character.
Came in after for the longest time. We did get some development with Tommy and some insight into his character in Dino Thunder, but his personality didn't change all that much either since he was in a mentor role. Another issue with Tommy is that he's kind of like Batman, where the franchise seems to worship him, almost as if Tommy's the only one that matters. In a lot of major stories, it's...
Yeah, none of these people are Mary Sue's. I know people might have called them Mary Sue's, but they're not. Okay? And just because people have called them Mary Sue's does not mean that Mary Sue as a term is therefore insignificant or not good at all or useless, as you say. You have yet to prove to me specifically why Mary Sue is not a good term. It's because people have misused it. People misuse things that are actually useful all the time. Okay? All the time. It's because it's misused, that means it's useless. It doesn't work that way. In order to convince me that Mary Sue is no longer a useful term, you're going to have to convince me, you're going to argue that it doesn't help at all. It has no significance, and people cannot use it anymore. And that doesn't. It's no longer playing its role as shorthand. Okay, putting all these, trying to convince me that characters that are not Mary Sue's are not Mary Sue's isn't going to convince me. It's because someone called them a Mary Sue before. Some neighborless people who probably hate them call them Mary Sue's. Okay, insults are insults, and Mary Sue has so much power. Mary Sue still has so much power. The term still has so much power, and still a watchword for when you're writing, as you don't want to make a Mary Sue. Still has so much power, and people use it as an insult. Okay, that's why people use it as an insult to begin with, because it does have power, it does have significance, and it is a big concern when you're writing. It is a big concern when someone is giving you a critical analysis and they bring up the term Mary Sue. Raka and Sano, thanks for $1.99. Mary Sue's are toy commercials, not characters. Exactly. They're just there to show off. They're not there to actually run you through a story or anything like that.
It seems as if everyone and everything is bending over backwards for Tommy at the expense of the story and everyone else's development. Seriously, we can't have...
Okay, if that's true, we need some examples. Okay, in your video, if you're going to make that claim that Tommy is a Mary Sue, even though people love him, but despite him being a Mary Sue, and you're going to say that he's a Mary Sue because his character is working toward the detriment of characters and even the story itself, prove it. Give me some examples as to how he's ruining the story. What about the story is being ruined by Tommy being there, by Tommy being focused on? How? Just show us some examples from the television show or the movies or whatever that showcase that the story is hurting because too much favoritism is being shown towards Tommy. Whether that's true or not, whether I believe it's true or not, doesn't matter. Show me with examples. So I'm hoping he gives examples. Kind of doubting it, but let's see if he does.
Have other people shine without Tommy being in the same room. Most evident in the Super Ninja Steel Power Rangers Anniversary Special. Tommy is talked up as a legend, like always.
Okay.
It's Tommy whose help they need in order to defeat Lord Draven for some...
When did that take place? Maybe he is a legend. I mean, Tommy has been in several series, as far as I know, in Power Rangers, and he has been through a lot of stuff. So yeah, he's not given a legend. Tommy, the Green Ranger / White Ranger, has carved out his legend. So they're just giving him proper deference here. He's not given deference for no reason. He's earned his deference, and they're giving him what he's earned.
Some reason. It's Tommy who gets the super cool legendary morpher, and it's Tommy who delivers the finishing blow, despite other veteran Rangers like Jem, Koda, and Wes appearing. They're eclipsed by...
Okay, yeah, but Tommy kind of became the leader, and he is favorited. But how does that all hurt the story? How does that become a detriment to the story? What I'm talking about, what I'm looking for specifically is, did the villain of the movie... was the villain of the movie competent and almost invincible until Tommy took the stage? And the Green Ranger took the stage, or the White Ranger took the stage? Was the villain then suddenly incompetent and weak? Did the story just suddenly resolve itself because Tommy stepped onto the scene because he always won? Like, it was something invincible, was invincible to all those other veteran Power Rangers who were on the same level as him, and then Tommy came up and punched it once in the face and it fell down and died. That's what I'm looking for. Specific instances where the story kind of warped to meet the needs and desires of Tommy. Like, if you have the Red Ranger from the veteran days, and the Red Ranger punches out, or the Red Ranger fights a bad guy and loses, and then all the other veteran Rangers fight the same bad guy and lose, and then Tommy beats him with no sweat. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but I need those specific kinds of examples, not just instances of he getting cool stuff and people liking him because he earned his legendary name.
Tommy. Now, for those of you in the audience who are itching to use the term Mary Sue and try to defend its existence and the usage of the word, here's the thing. All of that...
Yeah, he's not a Mary Sue. So you have not debunked anything about the term.
That is not a problem with Tommy or his character. Same goes with characters like Batman or Wolverine.
Those aren't Mary Sue's either. They've earned their power. They've earned everything. They have flaws and they have struggles. They're not Mary Sue's either. So just because someone calls these characters Mary Sue's, not make them Mary Sue's, and also doesn't mean that the word is meaningless or useless now. Okay? It just doesn't. You have not yet put forth an argument that proves that little factoid, that proves that assertion.
It's not an issue with their characters, it's an issue with the story and the priorities and skills of the writers. The writers are kissing Tommy's boots at the expense of everyone and everything else. And
Show me more examples of this specifically. Where? Show me where. Where did the story take a huge, noticeable downturn? Took a huge, noticeable hit because Tommy was being so favorited.
Ventress does not get anywhere near this level of worship despite, saving the frickin' universe. The criticism of Tommy Oliver doesn't mean
Tommy was in several, I think. He was in several series. He's an OG Power Ranger. Of course he'd be given extra deference. And how many times has Tommy helped save the universe? Tommy's helped save several things. He's been through several adventures. Okay, so he's like the old mentor. Like I said, like he even pointed out, he took the mentor role in some of these. Robert Roberts, I think there's 5. Any chance Literature Devil could produce a series of recommended genre reading and watching lists? I could. I have to give it some thought, but I could. That could be something I could do. Let's see here. This guy watched Logan. So I'm not sure, but at this point I'm really confused because at first I thought he was complaining that these characters were not Mary Sue's, but people were calling them Mary Sue's, therefore the term Mary Sue is worthless. But now he seems to be agreeing that they're Mary Sue's, and therefore Mary Sue's worthless, because the argument he seemed to be putting forth is that Mary Sue is a useless term because people can interpret it differently and so nebulous. No, people know what a Mary Sue is. Okay, you even stated it. You even know what it is, and you even claim that we know what it is. It's when the story and characters around them kind of warp reality, and break the laws of the established laws of the universe to meet the needs of the Mary Sue character. That's how it works. It doesn't mean that just because they're given deference, just because they're legendary, it's because they're powerful or competent. None of that makes them Mary Sue's. It's all how they're treated by the story and plot. And if the reality warps itself around them. Like I said, if the other veteran Power Rangers easily lose to a bad guy, and then Tommy, who should be on more or less on the same level, walk up to that same bad guy and beat him without a sweat, then we're talking. That's what I mean by the story falling detriment to a Mary Sue. Then that would be a Mary Sue moment, especially if it's not explained, especially if it's just an instance of the Green Ranger not having a special aid or special equipment or a special power up, but just the fact that he's just awesome. Then you have a Mary Sue moment. But just being given deference as a legend because you forge your own legend does not make you a Mary Sue.
himself is a bad character, or that we shouldn't ever have veterans like him return, or that he should never return, because it's cool to see him again. I'm saying, don't write a story that you might as well call The Tommy Oliver Show featuring the Power Rangers. It's not the character's fault or even any idea of a character, but rather whether or not it was implemented, handled, or executed well. It all depends on the skills and priorities of the writers, and any good writer can make any idea work. We've been writing Superman for 80 plus years. If him being overpowered or a paragon was a problem for writers, we wouldn't have all these comics and
Exactly. Being a paragon and being overpowered does not make you Mary Sue. It makes you a paragon and powerful.
all these wonderful classic stories, the good and the bad. In fact, it was because he had so many powers, was so powerful, was so high concept, and was applicable to most stories is how he survived the 50s and 60s.
Alexander Mosley, thanks for $1.99. Tommy must have stolen this guy's girlfriend. By the way he hates him, it seems that way. Raka and Sano, thanks for $1.99. Pollock argument, nonsense disguised as meaningful. Yeah, that's usually what it does. Political argument disguised as something emotional or meaningful. Think of the children style. I think the heart of this so far seems to me to be that he thinks that the definition is that if a character is competent or powerful, therefore they are by a large majority a Mary Sue. Not true at all. Not true at all. It seems to be the case here. And he's trying to argue that that Mary Sue is a bad term because there can be powerful characters who are good, which is true. And Mary Sue is a bad term because there can be competent characters, which is true. So I'm really confused as to how he did not see this connection and say, well, maybe being powerful and being good at things does not make a character Mary Sue then, because Mary Sues exist. He even brought up Paula Smith's infamous and / famous fanfic. That's where the Mary Sue was born. That's what had that character was a good personification of a Mary Sue. If you want to know what a Mary Sue is, kind of go back. You don't follow that example exactly. Okay, you can have certain traits from that character and still be Mary Sue. For example, you don't have to die at the end. Your character doesn't have to die heroically or tragically at the end to be Mary Sue. They can live and still be Mary Sue. Okay, it works that way. But that is a good example of what a Mary Sue character is. And Lieutenant Mary Sue, by the way, was not overpowered. She was a genius. She was a really big genius, and everyone loved her. And she was pretty and super genius. And she took over the ship, and she died heroically. But she wasn't like a god mode. She did not just have superpowers all of a sudden. Okay, but she was still a Mary Sue. So, no, I guess he never stopped to think for 1 minute that why so many people think Ray is a Mary Sue, but not Superman. Like, by huge margins, huge backlashes against Ray, but no huge backlashes against Superman. I think I know why, because he said at the beginning that it's because they're women that we think they're Mary Sue. It was an absolute lie. It's completely disingenuous. That's not true at all. But he never. So I guess believing that, he never stepped back and thought, well, maybe it's not the power that makes them Mary Sues. Maybe it's how they're treated by the plot. And he even mentioned how they're treated by the plot concerning Mary Sue. So it's really confusing. I'm not really sure why. Like I said, I don't think he thought about this. It's more like he got his talking points from someone else. Anyway, Chad, I think I'm going to have to stop it here. We're reaching the 3 hour and 16-minute line. Sorry I couldn't finish this, but maybe we'll finish this next time. But thank you, everyone, for joining me. I think we got at least to the heart of this video, realized where he was coming from. And hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and watch out, because we have a wonderful, wonderful Friday the 13th. And I will see you all next time.